mentioned earlier on that this is guesswork. So for you, how should this budget really look like ideally? We are saying 3.6 trillion.
The 11th of June 2021, tarehe 11 mwezi wa 6 mwaka 2021. Tumai kwamba uko salama kama unaenda ofisini. Tumai kwamba tayari ushaamka ushakimbia ofisini kama unaenda kwenye jua kali ama kuweza kutafuta riziki. Tayari kwamba ushafika kwenye vibanda. Sisi tumefika kwenye vibanda. Wanasema kazi ni kazi. Wale Westlands wanasema mboka ni mboka. Wakina EKURU hapa uptown sijui wanasema nini. Job is job. Mboga jahika. Haya sawa, karibuni sana. This Sheria Wiki, the 11th of June 2021. The Sheria Wiki, where we get to analyze and break down the legal happenings of the week, and we get to have a conversation so that we can see what has been happening. We bring it down for you. Najua wanasema Wakenya wanapelekwanga kipumbavu na system. Kwa hivyo sisi tuko hapa kuweza kugonga tujue mambo ni yapi, tuweze kubreak down information and everything that has been happening that is legal over the week. Na tuko hapa kama kawaida na nabii na mwanasheria Daktari EKURU AUKOT, na tuko na Professor Edward KISIANGANI ambaye pia akona naitwa nini maarifa mingi sana ya kisheria ama is a lot of knowledge on the law. Tatuambia mambo ya katiba vipi, kwa sababu anasema kama nataka kugeuza katiba every 5 years we want a new constitution. Kisikia ukiamka asubuhi maboheka unasema wapi ile katiba, anasema aje tuongeze KISIANGANI na EKURU wakuwa ndio baba wa nchi. Haya, anyway, kama kawaida lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe, alafu tukirudi kuja kuwapa salamu zenu, alafu tuingie kazi direct. Naona kwamba tumechelewa kwa dakika 9 hivi, dakika 10 actually, so tuanze kazi haraka alafu tuweze kumaliza pia kwa wakati. Mighty Father, we come before you this morning. We worship and glorify your name. Thank you for another opportunity to be alive this morning. We thank you for what you've given our hands to do. We thank you for this show. We thank you for every tackler that has joined us as they come in. May we meet them at a point of needs. Even as we have this discussion, may it be able to influence and edify the fabric of this country. We as only start and only finish, glory shall come out to your name. In faith I pray, amen and amen. Asante sana. Very quickly nitapitia tu salamu mbio. Kusimba de Sam na kuona Ambassador Alfred Surgeon all the way from Australia. Ansama pat tuko ndani attend keep morning. Jina good morning to you. Munga alita continue. Ni mtu wa EKURU kutoka pale Coventry, United Kingdom. Some morning team tackle tuning in for Coventry, United Kingdom. Looking forward to this morning show. Sheria Wiki. Salibia EKURU AUKOT, mwambie mbele iko fine. Haya. John Tai ESQ, good morning to you. Muchukwa Gunya MK, good morning. Ilari Kimeto, good debate. Asante sana. Johnson Kariri, good morning. Anita Chasira, good morning. Langata tuko ndani. Naona pia salamu nazo zimekuja mingi. Acha alafu nirudi. Lakini kama kaida ipozo ni join, please like. When you like, I get to know that you're watching us, and that you like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. When you come in, please like, share, and let us know where you're watching us from. Like, share, and let us know where you're watching us from. Tutaanza na reflections za wiki, alafu tukuje tuingie kwenye debate, alafu basi kazi tujue itakwaje. Daktari, nabii, mwanasheria, kiongozi, rais mtarajiwa, ni nabii. Anatabiri
siasa ya Kenya.
Anatabiri siasa.
Bito, si nilikwambia mambo inasambaratika. Day by day, week by week. Amuko nasikia.
It's getting worse.
It's getting worse and worse by the day. Saizi, we are not even sure exactly where we are at in terms of the national debt. Mara unasikia 5.3 trillion. Mara unasikia 7 trillion, 9 trillion.
Kila mtu akona figure.
11 trillion. Kila mtu akona figure. And that's just a sign kuonyesha kwamba tumechanganyikiwa kwa hii nchi. Na tulipozungumza hapa awali na Prof kidogo tumesema nchi imeuzwa, lakini we want to take it back because
nasikia receipt pale chini imeandika goods once sold and not returnable.
Yes. So ni kubaya. So ni kubaya. I mean especially last week and this week. I'm sure you umefuatilia events ya last week, this week. Total confusion, blame game going round. Country Nikama is going to whatever direction we don't even know. You know, one of the saddest things about any country in the world that seeks prosperity or development, there has to be a definite direction, both in terms of policy, in terms of decisions. Hii to me adasiji tunamka kila asubuhi na tunasikia this is the decision. There's just total confusion around. There's uncertainty. In fact, I was so keen to take my corona jab this week, but I'm told I patikani. It's not available. So you wonder, hey, now we are talking about a possible fourth wave, of corona. But when you hear that the vaccine is not even available in the country, and then we are talking huge budgets, and I'm sure we'll come to discussing that. You know, for me as a Kenyan, I'm just asking myself, where are we headed to? And is there something that we as a people now must do?
Talking about the jab, you are the Minister of Health, Kagwe, say there's a possibility that you're being injected with water.
Well, you see, now that's very sad, coming from a high policy decision maker like the Minister for Health. So what confidence then should we have in this country if a minister himself, who is supposed to be the regulator actually, the man in charge of our health in the country, during a pandemic, by the way, a pandemic that has killed, many people. I think in Kenya we have had now over 200,000 cases, something like that. So when a minister of health gives such information, should we have confidence in the government?
I doubt.
In other countries, and I follow a little bit of the debate in the US, the UK, and other developed countries, one of the things they emphasize on the table during this pandemic is that we must follow science. Yeah, we must listen to what the scientists are saying, and we must take their advice very, very seriously. But here we are allowing politicians to just speak anyhow, which is very wrong. For me, as a Kenyan, I feel so bad that my Minister for Health says, "Munadungiwa maji." So should I even go and take the vaccine?
Very high possibility.
And the other politics of this vaccine is this. WHO has approved about 7 vaccines, including the Sinovac, the Sputnik, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, and the others, Pfizer. But only in Kenya, I think we're talking about AstraZeneca only. The Oxford AstraZeneca,
which you don't have a second
we
dose.
don't even have. So why not just allow the market to be flooded with all these 7 vaccines, and you can choose. If it's the Johnson & Johnson, I want to take one jab and I go about my business. So again, total confusion. Coming back to the state of the nation, total confusion. We are just directionless, like I said. BBI, as we're supposed to have had a president assent to the bill by 7th June. Leo tarehe ngapi?
Leo tarehe 11.
11. So and that was their own timetable. Wewe kuna tu vile tumechanganyikiwa kama nchi.
Tumechanganyikiwa ama Mungu ndio mwema.
I think maybe like they say, maybe the good Lord works in very mysterious ways. Unalete kuna wakati tulikuwa amebua BBI kidogo, corona wave 3 wave 2 yakuja, ndege kasimama. So kidogo saa hizi unaona budget. Sasa Wakenya wanajishika kichwa. Hii budget tutafinance namna gani? Na uchumi ndio hii. Remember, even from last year as we spoke, I think we were analyzing using a figure of about 7 million small businesses that had collapsed in this country. We are talking about capital intensive investment as opposed to labor investment. Meaning, actually there is no money coming into our pockets. Because if I go out there and labor, then it means I will have an income. Then I'm able to pay taxes. And the state is able then to tax me. But now you do capital investment like the way we are seeing SGR, Nairobi Expressway, sujui nini. Most of that work inafanya na machine. Hakuna Wakenya wanafanya kazi. In fact,
Wakenya wanafanya kazi.
Hakuna Wakenya wanafanya kazi.
Haya, Prof.
So, tuko
tuko tabani ndani yake. State of the Nation. Professor, karibu sana. Umechukua karibu mwaka mzima hujatutembelea tu.
Nimewatembelea sasa. Unajua? Hata umefanya vizuri sasa.
It's been a while.
After a long while I'm back and I'm meeting my old friend AUKOT.
Mko na reunion. You guys having a reunion here.
The last time actually we met was Citizen.
Tulikuwa tunafanya kazi ya umma. Lakini sasa State of the Nation. Unajua nini? Ni ngori. Kimeumana. Ni ngori sana.
State of the Nation ni ngori.
I've been around here a little longer. And we have never looked so hopeless as a country like we are now. Things are very, very bad. The average person cannot afford food.
That's true.
Cannot afford medicine. They can't afford school fees for their children.
Basics.
The basic things that can make you lead a decent life are lacking. And we have a leadership in this country. The purpose of leadership is to enable people to lead a decent life.
I'm a rulership, Prof. Leaders.
Yes, but we have some rulers, probably. But they are supposed to make us live, enable us to
at least even as rulers.
Unaona hini? Ndio tusichukue machungwa kutoka kwa ile mapipa imetupwa. So we eat some decent food. That is not there. And then the complication is that what my brother is saying, even when now some people don't have anything. They don't have anything to eat. But there are others, like myself, who are worried could be injected with water instead of the AstraZeneca. And the minister has the audacity to just announce like that, like it is a joke, the joke you make when you are drinking beer. That's the problem that you have in this country.
It's actually scared us away from the vaccine now.
Yes, he's scaring us away from the vaccine. And when you look at his face,
he doesn't look worried.
He doesn't look worried, and it's like he's watching a film, and he's a very happy man. This minister is a joker. You know, he cannot make jokes about our lives.
He's announcing it so comfortable.
No, you could be injected.
There is a possibility that you're being injected with water.
But that is his docket.
But it's like it's the nature and character of this government, because it's like the admission the president himself made.
Yes.
Was it a couple of months back that we are losing 2 billion every day?
Yeah.
2 billion. You're a minister for health, you know somebody's being injected with water. Then what are you doing about it?
What are you doing about it? Or if you are the president and you know that people are stealing 2 billion,
2 billion.
and you are the custodian of the country, kwa nini hata usiwafukuze mkararuana mashati hata watu wakakukuta kwa barabara hapo River Road mnakimbisana watu wasaidie president wararue huyu mashati alafu tumshike nywele na tuseme ametoroka na 2 billion.
I'm trying to remember which country is this where the president in a car park literally chased his minister and was beating him.
Yes.
Physically.
Oh, yes.
Right.
I was trying to remember. I think the tacklers can help us remember.
Tuwafukuze alafu tuwachape makofi. You know, if the president does not start throwing slaps at these people and chase them across the street, you know, he might walk around the street and he could be slapped.
But I think the president like Macron.
You could have a Macron moment.
Because if guys are running with 2 billion shillings,
and you know it,
and you know them, not that you know it, you know them, because this money, this money is not kept in your house, Prof. It's not in your house. This money is government money.
In the coffers.
And the president knows where this money is. He must know who has the keys.
Who has the keys.
And so, do they run with the money during the day or at night?
Even in now the system we call IFMIS.
Yes.
This IFMIS. You know, IFMIS is operated by key individuals who are known.
Yes, they are known.
So if it is public money, for sure, you must know kuna mtu alienda key in your code ya IFMIS na hiyo pesa ikataweka.
So the state of the nation is the state of despair and the state of hopelessness. The medical field is not working. Food security is not there. There are people who are hit hard by the climate change and they are not able to produce food. They can't afford the food. On the political scene, there are all sorts of activities going on. It is a madhouse. You have BBI. We are waiting for elections. And then, also the judiciary.
And we are also talking about the fact that we don't have confidence in IEBC. We are talking about hold a referendum.
Yes.
BBI bill. So where are we headed?
So we are in a state of hopelessness, Gerard. If we want to change, we need a new conversation. We need a new deal. This country needs a new deal. Somebody should come up like Franklin Delano Roosevelt in the 1930s to strike out a new deal for people, between the people and those who want to lead. Because at this rate, we shall collapse. We're just a few years away from collapse, because this economy, 3.7 trillion, it won't work. Most of this money we shall collect, we shall pay taxes. So essential services, it's not possible for this government to provide essential services. It doesn't have the money. Now, I was just making a joke when I was coming this way in a car I was carrying my daughter to her place of work. Then I said, even if you say nobody's talking about it, this BPI, the courts have saved Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga from further embarrassment.
That is true.
The reason is they were talking about that 5% to go to the counties, which was a lie. But now, if with this kind of budget and the debts that we have, suppose BBI passed, what would they give the counties? Even up to now, where we are talking, Gerard, there is no money to pay some services. You have heard about pending bills in the counties. So where will the 35% have come from? So, in fact, both the president and Raila and all the proponents of BBI should go to church to pray. To pray for the courts. The courts really helped them.
What they should do, Prof,
yes.
They should throw a BBI rally. I mean a party.
A party.
And to celebrate.
To celebrate.
The judgment of the five judges. And I say hallelujah.
It's a party.
They have saved us.
It should be a party.
In fact, if there is the only way I can associate with BBI,
yes,
is to attend a BBI celebration party where we are saying, let's forget about this BBI.
Party is a party.
Thanks to the judges.
Party after party. We shall attend. Because it has saved somebody an environment. It's like Prof. You have no food. And the visitors are coming. The guy who's supposed to supply you with food doesn't turn up.
Yeah.
You haven't cooked.
Yeah.
Then the visitors are coming.
Yes.
You call, they don't pick.
Yes.
But finally they send a message that there's something which has cropped up.
Yes.
They are not coming. They save you.
Yeah.
So these proponents of BBI should...
I think they should really throw a party unless out
For
of
Justice
out of
Odunga.
respect for Jesus first Christ, a miracle on earth. Let's take some fermented water to celebrate.
Yes.
In honor of the first miracle.
It has saved them. Where would they get the money?
Secondly, but also I think, Prof, there's a more serious issue now.
Yes.
You know, when I look at the current constitution, which of course we are all involved in,
Yes.
in writing,
Yes.
actually it makes me think. And you know, when we wrote this constitution, one thing that most Kenyans do not know, we wrote it in what is called plain English.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, if you compare to the old constitution, it had a lot of Latin words, modus operandi, nini, vitu kama hizo. But when we said we are writing this new constitution, it must be read by even a child, a standard 8, a primary school child.
Yes.
Plain English.
Yeah.
Now, coming to the question of 35%, you know, plain English there says at least. Now,
Under 2 or 3.
and yes, under 2 or 3.
Article 2 or 3.
At least.
Yes.
Sasa me, sometimes I wonder if the lingua is at least. Tulisoma English kweli.
Simple English.
It means at most,
Yes.
you can still increase.
You can do
without
100%.
violating the constitution.
Without amending the constitution. So, you know, this makes us wonder, tunaongea Kiingereza mingi sana kwa hii nchi. Kiingereza mingi sana.
A lot of English.
Speech, a lot of English.
Little
Lakini
work.
we cannot understand the one at least. Let's amend the constitution and then bring another at least 35%.
What is that? Gerard,
Okay.
Are you happy?
I'm not happy. Budget jana imesomwa, kwa hivyo acha tukimbia kwanza tusikie video. There's a video I want us to listen to. So I want you guys to have your headphones on. I want us to listen to a video courtesy of Citizen TV. So it's courtesy of Citizen TV. I want us to hear this then before we even dive into the budget as our first conversation. Please, let's have the video up.
Because you had mentioned earlier on that this is guesswork. So for you, how should this budget really look like ideally? We are saying 3.6 trillion against a collection of about 1.2, 1.8. What should it look like?
Yeah, the reason why I said guesswork, and I know the very able doctor said 2020 doesn't matter. Let me give you why it matters. Look at the budget GDP figures they've put for 2020 and the estimated GDP figures they've put for 2021. The estimated GDP figures for 2021 is 12 trillion. If you take the last GDP figures for 2019, which was 10 trillion, they're telling us the Kenyan economy has grown by 24% in 2 years. That is guesswork. Yeah? Completely guesswork. Even their own estimation is GDP has not, if it grew last year, it grew by 0.6. How do you move from 10.1 to 11.2 in 1 year, and you said it grew by 0.6? Because now when you base your budget on a fictitious GDP number, yeah, what happens? You're going to say KRA is going to collect more. Yeah, and that's why KRA historically every year meets on an average of around 220 billion. Yeah, this goes to the deficit that is there. If you use a fictitious GDP figure or an Alice in Wonderland type of GDP figure, you start saying, no, we've reduced our budget deficit to GDP is now 5%, when the truth of the matter, it is actually not 5%. And you know, when the government wants to hide from something, they use a statistic that is very hard to verify. They will throw for you GDP, they will throw for you diaspora remittances, they will throw for you we created jobs in the informal sector, because there is no way you can verify those figures. And that's why Jubilee government has been creating more jobs in the informal sector and nothing in the formal sector, because in the formal sector you can easily do a survey. Why are we where we are? Dr. Mtoa said Kibaki tried to live within his means, which is partly correct. He borrowed sensibly. Then come the new government that came in and pursued a capital-intensive economic growth agenda in a capital deficit economy. Kenya is a labor-intensive economy. We have so much labor that is not being utilized. Why not pursue a labor-intensive agenda so that you get coverage in terms of employment? When people start getting jobs, they get income. When people get income, that's only at that point where you start lifting people out of poverty. But you pursue a capital-intensive project like SGR, Nairobi Expressway, and you are treating economic symptoms, not the economic problem. Let me give you an example of the Nairobi Expressway. Traffic congestion in Nairobi is not an economic problem. It's an economic symptom of the rural economy that has been killed. And everyone is flocking into Nairobi. Instead of urbanizing the rural areas so that someone who grows in Kakamega has no desire to come to Nairobi whatsoever, because there's an urban center there that is creating jobs for them. So now we have spent, I don't know how much is the expressway? 140 something billion to treat a symptom. If that money had gone to the counties to actually develop the economies in the counties, you have sorted the problem of traffic in Nairobi. No one wants to come to Nairobi. So when I say it's guesswork, it is a budget. When you look at it, if you just even go through the numbers, I'll give you an example. National Treasury has a larger allocation than health and agriculture put together. What does National Treasury need 183 billion for? Nyatani has to answer that question in Parliament today. What does National Treasury need 183 billion for? We are talking of statistics. Kenya National Bureau of Statistics has given a paltry 1.7 billion. And you expect to get timely statistics from that. So if this budget was to make sense, and if ever we're going to get to a balanced budget or even a surplus budget, we need to move away from a capital-intensive economic growth agenda. There's no point of getting Volvo to come and create a factory in Nairobi. Cam will tell you. Because it's automated. Most people employ only 50 people, 60 people. But we're an agricultural economy. 70% of the whole economy is agriculture. Why not get a tractor assembly plant? Why not get an irrigation equipment manufacturers to come in the country? So if you look at the priorities that are in this budget, it is not a recovery budget. We don't know what they're trying to achieve with this budget. The purpose of fiscal policy is to create employment, stable prices, and growth. But growth that has income. But when you go through 3.6 trillion and trying to really pinpoint what is actually going to spur growth in this 3.6, where are jobs actually going to, what environment is being created that the private sector can grow, and government is not in the business of employing people. Government is in the business of creating an environment that allows the private sector to expand, employ more people, but that has not been happening in the last 7-8 years. Deficit is at 1.2 trillion. What you're not being told is our friends in the August House asked for an additional 240 billion on top of what Yatani had put. And if you look at the things they've asked in the 240, there's actually nothing for Mwananchi. There's 100 million for decentralizing counseling services for police. There's 1.7 billion for IBC to build a headquarters. I'm thinking IBC have bigger problems than a building. And what is the government doing buying buildings? Why not offload those buildings to your pension funds? Sort out your pension debt by the pension funds having that asset now as an asset on them, lease back the building from them. Why is the government holding on to Safaricom and KCB? If they sell just 5% of Safaricom and 5% of KCB, they will be able to raise 360 billion. 360 billion covers half of your deficit for this year, reduces your borrowing. We have doctors, PhDs seated in Treasury. We have 27 MPs who sat in the Budget Parliamentary Committee and came up with an additional 240 and did not reduce anything. And that's why I say this is just pure guesswork.
Okay.
All right. Pure guesswork is the term that has been said. Pure. And I think this guy is really brilliant. It's very serious. And it's really, what I like about him is that he's really hitting out the numbers. And I mean, some of the things you look at and you wonder, it feels like a serious oxymoron. I mean, look at IBC. The issues that people are having with IBC at the moment has nothing to do with an office, has nothing to do with the building. It's about the integrity of elections.
And confidence
and you look at where the money is being allocated. Look at the executive, for instance, being given in a tune of over 1-something trillion.
No, Treasury.
Look at Treasury. What is it being given money to do?
And
They're
it's
the
not
ones who channel
trading.
the money.
And it's not a bank.
I don't know what your feeling is,
they're-
guys.
They are not trading. I mean, like what that guy said. If you're giving, for example, do you lend a bank money? You know, unless they are trading with it. Treasury is not trading with any money, so it's not generating any income for us. So I totally agree with him. But you know, even before we come to the specific of this budget, let me just remind Kenyans that looking at this, reflecting on the state of our nation, even starting from this budget alone, the BBI, SG Nini, we need to remind Kenyans of the promises of this Jubilee administration. That there is nothing Jubilee has ever promised Kenyans, not even this budget, because they will not implement it, that has come to fruition.
Okay.
Right from when they started lying to our children about 1 laptop per child, nothing like that. 3 million jobs every year, nothing like that. Even SGR, they claim it is theirs. No, it started with Kibaki. This Nairobi Expressway was approved by the Kibaki administration at a cost of 23 billion. Now we are talking about 64 billion with them. BBI, another venture, guesswork, like this fellow says about in the budget. Nothing is coming to fruition. Now look at this budget. It's crazy. Even if you look at, say, the last 1 year alone, let's just take the last 1 year alone. How have Kenyans actually fared, Prof, in the last 1 year in terms of job opportunities, creation of employment, you know, just the welfare.
Yes.
We know people are suffering. Now you come up with a budget like this, which is really child's play. This is laughable. Where do you think? Because a budget has to be financed. You know, it has to be financed. Do you know that the businesses have collapsed? You know that you've been responsible for closure of counties, several counties, lockdown of country, and yet there has never been any measures, for example, to assure Kenyans that now you can go out and venture and do business. For example, I've expected when this Jubilee administration locks down the country, or even the last 5 counties, will have expected mass vaccination, mass testing, so then you can assure people there will be no spread of corona, and therefore they can go out there and open up their businesses, their hotels. So that when you bring a budget like this, then I can have confidence that this budget can actually be funded from within the economy or through some borrowing, which of course reduces our debt. It's a joke.
But you know, even more critical is the fact that the speaker on the other side has talked about having an economy that is capital intensive. You know, the idea of economic growth in this country by this government is to buy machines and promote big businesses. This government doesn't think about small people.
And to get a 30% cut.
Yes.
From,
So if you're carrying cargo from Nairobi, carrying some raw materials for Bidco, that's business. For them, they think that is business.
Yeah.
But you know, the SGR itself, as it crosses through Taita Taveta, Kwale, Taita Taveta, and then Makueni, how do the people around the SGR benefit from the SGR? You know, can they go with their mangoes and sell there? What is it that Taita Taveta sells to the SGR?
Nothing.
What is there in Makueni? There is nothing. Even when it arrives in Nairobi here, it arrives with big business things.
Exactly.
But for us as small people, we don't know. So you have to promote agriculture, mangoes and oranges in Makueni, and make sure that they also benefit from that capital establishment. So the first thing is to think about the people within the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But they benefit. Now it has gone up to Naivasha. What do the people around Naivasha benefit from that? Do they use? How do their fish go into that? Do they have a slaughterhouse to sell their meat, transport the meat through SGR to Mombasa to export? No. So there is no relationship between the SGR and the economic growth of ordinary wananchi.
Yeah.
So this capital intensive thing, it should not be the starting point of reorganizing our economy. We must get to the people, the small businesses which have been vandalized by police. Because you know, when you do small business, you are criminalized.
Yes.
But when you do big business, you are protected. So that's why we have a huge chunk of our population trying to hover around on the streets from one end to another in big towns. What Frantz Fanon called the wretched of the earth, trying to look for jobs which are not there. And in the end, you know, you have to chase them away by using police, and it doesn't work. So Gerard, if you look at our country, therefore, this guy is saying it's guesswork. But I think the bottom line is to get back and think about this budget. It is naive. It will be naive for us to just think about the fact that the figures are misplaced. There is misallocation. Who is responsible for this?
But you mentioned also another very important thing in his analysis, the role of leadership, the role of representatives.
Yes.
You have 27 members of parliament who sit there, who are supposed to be now, wanafaa kuchambua hii bajeti. Waseme hii bajeti, how is it helping my constituents?
Yes. And someone has asked actually, what's the role of parliament in budget making?
Exactly. So they are not even saying, let me place my constituents where I come from. What is the economic activity in my constituency that needs to be funded through this budget so that then the economy can grow and you put money into people's pockets? So he's saying, instead of those 27 members of parliament, Prof, criticizing this budget and suggesting even reduction or whatever, they are increasing it. And they are saying, give us more money for counseling services. For
watu ambao wanatakikana wachapwe biboko kabisa ni hao watu wa bunge. Wasituburingie. They are useless people.
They did not bring for us.
But you see, Prof, a more fundamental question, of course, is that we actually do not have a parliament. I've said it here many times in this show that there was no point for us to have actually woken up very early in the morning to go and elect 416 representatives, or the 349 plus the nominated ones, because these people are under the control of the executive. They are under the control of almost two people.
Yes.
In fact, I said many times here, and I repeat again, hata hakuna haja sisi kuwa na Senate ama na National Assembly. We rename the Senate either Uhuru Kenyatta or Raila Odinga, or vice versa, because they are the ones who are making the decision.
Allocate.
Because we don't have representatives. If this budget cannot be questioned in the context of our localities, local economies, then it's a useless budget, if you ask me. How are we even going to fund it? In fact, we are not even being told what is our repayment formula, for example, to say people who have lent us money, like say China and others. Because that's supposed to be a fiscal policy decision.
Prof. If we had a way, no wonder even Justice Maraga declared that this parliament should be dissolved.
Exactly.
It's not worth it. It doesn't matter which side of parliament you are talking about.
Yes.
It's a parliament which sits in committees, approves certain expenditure, and blames that on Uhuru Kenyatta. Blames that on Raila Odinga. We haven't seen the correct rebellion and the independence of the parliament. Okay. Parliament should rebel against policies that hurt wananchi. That is their job. But now you see they pass this. You remember the question of the fuel, the 16% VAT on fuel. They passed it. And when they passed it, they turned around and started blaming Uhuru Kenyatta and so on. Yes. So this time I think somebody should be looking for these parliamentarians in the streets and slap them for blaming Uhuru Kenyatta when they are part of the it's an extension. Parliament is the extension of the executive.
Because you see, Prof, because they are the conduits to corruption.
Yes.
I've never seen anywhere in the world where you are given a salary.
Yes.
I tell you, come to the office because I'm paying you salary at the end of the month.
Yes.
Then when you come to the office, you say, I need a sitting allowance.
Yes.
I need a house allowance. And yet I've given you a salary. So members of parliament, if you look at it, and there's a time, Prof, one of the occasions we compared here.
Yes.
Parliamentarians in Kenya are 416. In fact, I'll be so keen. I'm going to look at this budget after this to see what is the allocation to parliament. I bet you it's more than the current 37.5 billion under the current financial year.
Yes.
Just look at the paradox, Prof. 416 people, individuals, they are allocated 37.5 billion in our budget. Yeah. Let's compare it to the Nairobi. We have about 6 million inhabitants in Nairobi. They are allocated about 11 to 12 billion. Just even contrast. 416 individual, that's 7.5 billion. 6 million
citizens.
Kenyan citizens, 11, 12 billion. And you expect with the 12 billion, you have clean water, electricity, security, sewage.
And even also they've reduced the tax on sewage.
Yes, all those things. But these 416 individuals are taking away a cool 37.5 billion. Yes. Over and above that, umewapatia house allowance, car allowance, mileage allowance, and all those things. Let me tell you, this country needs a total overhaul.
completely.
Total overhaul. Hii ni kama sasa ile engine, gari imenock engine.
Ama tununue engine mpya.
Si ndio?
Because hata hii pengine haitawaka.
Lakini hii body imeisha, imepigwa pia. So labda kununua gari mzima.
Unajua tulisema
this is an accident salvage. This country is an accident salvage.
No, we have to do something. We call the insurance, we say.
Ama tujaze fillers.
Hapana. Filler hapana.
Haiwezi.
Because the body is done. This is an accident car.
Inji imeharibika. Look at what Prof is saying. How can you have 400 people getting 37 billion and then 6 million in the city
12
are getting 12 billion?
Doesn't make sense.
And then you say, the problem in Kenya and in many parts of Africa is not resources.
No.
We have resources.
We have resources.
But we joke around with these resources, management of resources. Okay. It's like Nigeria, which has oil, and sometimes you go to Lagos and there is no oil in the petrol stations. And then you ask, what is it? Where
is the oil?
Where is the oil? And
where is our oil, by the way? Our oil went for a tour. It does not return.
There is no oil. There is oil in Nigeria, but there is no oil. Yet, almost everybody has invested in a generator.
Yes.
Which uses oil.
That is Nigeria for you. Where is our oil, by the way? Where is our oil from Turkana?
This problem is
you were told they had gone for a tour.
I don't know whether these lorries that used to be to transport our oil from Turkana. Actually, Prof comes from Turkana, and he will tell us. But for us, I think because I come from the western part, I used to see those big lorries carrying oil to Mombasa, built to carry the oil. You know what? If I were in charge of this country and privileged to be in that kind of position, this is a resource that we would guard very, very seriously. And all we need to do, once you discover that you have a lot of these hydrocarbons under our grounds, you now think about the value addition. So we should have invested in the refinery facilities, because that means when you sell a lorry, a tank full of crude oil, you are selling petrol, you are selling tar for making roads, you are selling you are selling jet oil, you are selling super for the vehicles, you are selling diesel. Now, when we sell crude very cheaply, Gerard, and we start re-importing that into our country, it is a very bad thing. So it's the same thing where Africa is producing secondary products, like in Zambia, copper, you have diamonds in DRC. They bring back rings, which are very expensive, but we have no factory to process the commodity to the next level. So secondary production has not taken root in our country. So our oil, I suppose, is still being sold in those tanks, which go to Mombasa to accumulate after about 3 months, and then they sell to Singapore.
But see, Prof,
yes, and I don't know how much they sell, and where that money goes.
So let's contextualize an economic activity or an economic opportunity, like, say, for example, the discovery of oil in Turkana, Lokicher, to this budget, where you're saying we have to fund certain economic activity opportunities so that then we can grow the economy.
Yes.
Or we can put wealth into people's pockets. Now, in other countries of the world, for example, in the state, say, of Texas in the US or others, when you discover something like oil, people even move to that state because there are opportunities. This is what the economist was saying. You create opportunities out there, you even decongest cities, because then you can go and live anywhere. Why is it so difficult to just build even a local refinery in Lokicher?
Yes.
And we are told we have got a lake. We are sitting on a lake
of water,
which could actually supply us water for 70 years.
Yes.
Imagine if you build a local refinery in Turkana. How many opportunities will you create in Turkana? And as we are small, we are minorities. So we'll definitely need the Luyas, we'll need the Kalenjin, we'll need the Kikuyus, we'll need the Luo to come and take advantage of this opportunity. Because even right now, as we speak, there are many non-Turkanas who are actually in Lokicher because of the opportunity of oil. But imagine if you did a local refinery. And I'm thinking this is the only way you can actually expand our economic opportunities in this country. Make sure that even now Turkana is known is the oil county of Kenya.
Yes.
That's like the way tea, coffee, is known.
Let's not Turkana for something. For oil and water.
Sio tu ma AK-47,
All right.
ma capital wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah?
So there's something that he has mentioned that's very profound as well. When it comes to local production, let's talk about the priority of where to invest in, and also initiatives in terms of spurring the economy, because we are talking about an economy that does not sustain itself. In fact, Taifa Leo headline has really brought it out well, and it's saying bajeti ya deni. Because literally, we are funding our budget with debt. Imesema kwamba bajeti ya deni, a debt budget. That is. Now, all this, the whole budget in itself does not pay attention to sustainable economic production within the country. Let's look at local companies. Instead of giving them initiatives and incentives to grow, look at Korocho, for instance. For the longest time, the government has been clamping its growth. We're talking about billions of taxes being levied on it. International multinationals are coming in like Japan, and you're telling them, guys, you can operate without taxes. I mean, for how long are we going to operate without a local economy that can sustain our backbone? Do you think the government is really keen about creating income within us?
No, the government doesn't care about us. If it did, then things would not be looking like this. We would not be talking about a country being hopeless. We are hopeless because government, I think, enjoys probably this kind of situation where people don't have money. And that politicians have a field day to do handouts and control opinion and control the way things go so that they are kept in power. Government doesn't have that. And now that you raise this issue of the economy, there is a new kid in town about our economic growth. There is this hustler movement and the bottom-up approach to development. It has given birth. Some people want to credit the deputy president for this, but I think he's just one of the fellows who have woken up to the reality that what we are experiencing in terms of economic development is not sustainable. So because people don't have that money you're talking about in their pockets, and the system as currently crafted can only make you poorer. Because even if you start a kiosk, it will be brought down. It will be the police will come and chase you away.
It's illegal to be poor.
So they will criminalize all aspects. The only things that have been given official support are big businesses. So look at one of the things that we have in the villages. People are engaged in different agricultural activities. They are producing certain things, but there is totally no program for value addition. If, for example, you are growing maize in Wasinigisho or Bungoma, where I come from, the thing is you want to tell people that when you grow your maize, the next stop is the serious board in Eldoret or Kitale. Yet. So if the serious board does not open the doors, they have just to suffer with their maize. But suppose the government said that, look, you don't have to go to the serious board, and it's not the business of government buying this, looking for money from taxpayers. Some of it is even squandered to buy maize from the farmers. Suppose we do a value addition and turn this maize into dairy mill. We can do silage, we can do dairy mill. And we enable people from their own homes to make dairy milk for their cows and then convert that into milk. Millions of liters of milk will be sold to Uganda and other countries, and we shall make money. But when you suggest that you need electricity, you need water to finance that, they will not do that. They will say, you are making people. I gave you an example. I think EKURU, we were together one time when we were talking to, you remember we had some good links with the former MP for Kibera, the late Ken Okoth. One time, Gerard, Ken Okoth told us, and I will not mention the politician he quoted. Probably he told you before he died also. He told me that when the National Youth Service started operating in Kibera
Don't fear to mention.
No, wait.
This is where we say it as it is.
No, wait.
It's the only place.
I might say you never know.
I have lawyers.
So Ken Okoth told me that when he started the program for youth service, cleaning the drainage in Kibera started. He went to his boss in ODM and said, you know what, these people have worked very hard and now we are changing Kibera. Then his boss in ODM told him, why are you taking the boys out of the barracks? So it seems the policy of this government is this. we don't want to take the boys and the girls out of the barracks. And when you're in a barracks, you sleep in a dormitory. Life is basic. So you cannot take them to the streets to see how things are done. So we don't have money to finance any economic activities because all the money is concentrated in small hands. The basic infrastructure cannot be financed, and that's why you can see Parliament of 400 people can walk away with 37 plus billion in a budget, but a whole city of Nairobi has only 15.
Now they are 46 billion.
46 billion. So we have all our things upside down. So we probably this bottom-up approach, I don't know how Professor thinks, but this bottom-up approach is likely to be the new discourse. How do we empower people to walk around with some money, have a high culture of saving money, so that even government can borrow from the public rather than going to China to pick expensive checks. And I want to conclude this comment by this. You see, I work in the university.
Yes.
Now, Prof, you have worked in these places, and you know what? If my NSSF money, I'm paying 320 shillings for NSSF, Gerard, and then you have a primary school teacher maybe just earning about 30,000 shillings per month. They are also paying 320. How do we improve the health sector? Because at the end of the day, you will not get enough money to put equipment in hospitals. The second thing is that does the government need to put up hospitals? What government needs is to have enough money for insurance and ask the private sector to put up hospitals, and without discrimination. Once we have enough money to treat you, you just go to any hospital and the savings there. So those who earn more should be taxed more. But right now, if you tax me 320 for NSSF, and then
you tax the next guy in Juakali,
30,000 also you are taxing 320, you are protecting those who earn more and punishing those who earn less.
Okay, on the same conversation, I think it brings it home that I think we're in a country where it punishes the poor and rewards the rich. And that is most of the time in this case are the people that actually impoverish us, because you know how wealth runs in this country. It runs within the systems that are over time have had an historical advantage against the others. Now, in the budget, do you feel, as we have all these budgets, everything is going to the pampas? It's like having a home that is lacking food, but you think it's very nice to go to Diani for an holiday, telling your family, now we have 50,000, 40,000 will go into us going to Diani for 2 nights. Do you think we're very keen on actually sparring the economy, because we are in an economy that is tanked, it's not generating any income? What's your feeling in terms of the government investing in our local companies and local manufacturers, which is spending money? It's
obvious, I think, and I think Prof has explained it heavily, that it's obvious that our budget is misdirected.
Yes. Because
then you are not actually targeting how you grow an economy. I mean, I'm not an economist, but for me it makes sense. For example, let me give you an example. As a nomadic pastoralist from the Kenya of the North, you see, all the meat products you eat, for example, in this country, or even in Nairobi, do you know 80% of that meat comes from the arid and semi-arid lands in this country?
That's true.
Yeah?
Sure.
That's a huge economy on its own. Meat production. Let me give you a contrast. Botswana as a country. What built Botswana's economy for the longest time is actually beef production.
Yes.
And it's a very tiny country. They just invested in meat. Of course, they have got other things like minerals and stuff. Now, if we are consuming 80% of our meat products in Kenya, and we also export to the Middle East, remember, those desert countries, they don't have places to rear cows. If the budget was realistic and really wanted to build an economy, a local economy, you will actually have meat processing plants in the NFD, in the arid and semi-arid lands in this country, where you can also do value addition. Imagine all the skin from these cows.
Yes.
You can actually now begin to produce belts, shoes, and we don't have to go buy shoes from China, from the US, from the UK, from wherever. We can do our own local.
Like Ethiopia.
Like Ethiopians do. Cotton production. We know that part of Nyanza was very good with cotton production.
Yes.
You could actually now say, okay, how do we pump money into reviving the economy? I don't know, Bitok, I don't know how old you are, but you may not maybe properly, but you will definitely know this. You come from Wasingishu. There's a time Kikomi
Yeah.
and the others,
And Raymond.
Raymond.
Yeah, I remember
Nakuru.
Raymond. I mean,
No?
it was very prestigious to wear a Raymond sweater at
Raymond,
that time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So-
or a blanket.
So the truth of the matter is,
And can knit.
our budgeting is neglecting opportunities that can actually spur economic growth in this country. So in other words, we actually have a leadership in this country that does not even know what it's doing. It does not know what it means to steer a country to a certain direction of prosperity and development.
Okay.
That's the bottom line.
Great. Prof, you have driven towards Nakuru
Yes.
up to Eldoret on this road. You look at our local mamambokas, small businesses, farmers. They are miserable with their potatoes, their carrots, their onions, their tomatoes
By the roadside.
By the roadside. If you take all that food and sweep it out of that road and take it to Turkana and take it to Mandera, there is local market. But then they can't reach market. No, suppose we had a forward-looking budget. What would we do? We do what you call the law of comparative advantage. Lodwar might produce fish, very good fish, but they are not able to produce those carrots and potatoes. So what we do is, can we invest some money, buy even lease of aircraft, 24-hour aircraft transporting potatoes, and there are coolers. You set up coolers in the Lodwar town, and they take their potatoes, carrots, and everything.
Stuff them there.
Yes, that is what you do, and you will realize that we don't have much to export. But the problem is, you think in terms of just taking out. If maize is being grown in Bungoma, Kakamega, and Uasin Gishu, we don't have a lot of land to keep animals or goats. So if you have another 24-hour movement of aircraft taking the maize to northern Kenya, and then in northern Kenya you have the meat. The meat being brought to Kisii, Bungoma, Kisumu. You know what? You will get a local market. So the imagination about the budget is to think about import-export and for big companies. And that is why our priorities is placed. This country needs a new deal. It needs a new thinking, because the people that we have given authority to make decisions on our behalf have been a big letdown.
All right.
You know,
As we close the discussion.
When you think about the last point on this budget, when I think about this budget and how it really wants to help Kenya and Kenyans to solve some of their problems. I know one of the problems in our country is food security.
Yes.
Yeah? And food security, you can juxtapose it to the idea of land. Do we have land in Kenya? Yes.
A lot of it.
Plenty of land. Do we have water in Kenya? Plenty of water. So why are we not investing, for example, in food security alone, and then that becomes an economic activity and occupation? Imagine a country like Israel. I've had the pleasure of visiting Israel, Egypt. Basically, these are desert countries. But you will never hear food insecurity in these countries. Why? Because they invest properly, in what will make their people live decently. Imagine we're even importing eggs from Egypt. Best oranges, for example, now come from Israel. They turn water, salty water from that lake into drinkable water. And yet for us here, we have huge rivers. We are not even commercializing. And we are not short of market. Africa alone can be a very huge market for Kenya. But we have to put our money in the right places and build an economy, a robust economy. And the budget of any country must speak to that. That's why I think economists call it the fiscal policy of government.
All right. Okay, as we wind that very quickly in a minute. Okay, we've talked about all these problems that we're having. We've broken down the budget. It doesn't make sense, as rightfully every other person has said. I'm also seeing the funds. So the question is, I'll start with you, Prof. In a minute, where's the turnaround? How do we turn this? Where is our roundabout as a country?
I think,
or where is our U-turn?
I think it lies with the republic, the citizens. Citizens themselves must make a decision either to continue with this misery or do something about it. It's not for you to prescribe that. People must feel pain enough to start thinking differently. We are so stuck in ethnic thinking, which doesn't help us. It doesn't bring food to the table. We must think about a transformation agenda that will change our country and make our country prosperous. So if we do that, then we have collectively to make a decision that enough is enough. If Parliament is not doing this, what do we do? Part of the initiative that is being done at institutional level, if you see the judiciary being brave enough to say no to constitutional changes that are likely to destroy our country, then the next thing is Parliament. The next thing is for the executive to do soul searching. But then, as we go for elections are not cosmetic things. You must look at programs of those who are standing for election and see whether they are going to change our lives or not. If we vote in bad people, we vote in bad policies, we suffer the consequences. But if we change, the turnaround is just about us, the Republic. We must do something about this misery. And we have capacity to do that. We have avenues to change things through the Constitution. We don't want to change things through violence. We want we believe in the rule of law, and we have enough avenues to create this change. We are having an election in about 13 months and 14 months. What is our priority? Instead of just supporting people because you like them, you like their faces, you must think about the programs they are offering. And let me tell you something right now. Maybe presidential candidates are going to come out. As a person, I think I've looked at the presidential candidates you have around. And given the challenges this country are, only the deputy president seems to have a project which can be discussed. He has something that can be discussed. Okay. These other people are concerned about taking power. You ask the Musalia, unataka uchukue power ufanyie nini? Nothing. You ask Gideon Moi. He's fumbling with words and they don't even come out. And then he tells you he wants to be president. You don't know what he wants to do. Then you have fellows Raila Odinga. Do you want to take power to dance with people reggae, or you have a program? He doesn't tell you how he will change this country. So we have one person who has come up with that discourse. I encourage other presidential candidates to come and challenge Ruto and tell him what you have a bottom-up approach to fix our problems. We have a better program to do that. And if this is a better program, let wananchi make a decision. We can turn this country into a prosperous nation as long as we take the initiative, and the initiative lies with the people.
All right, where's the turnaround, Doctor?
So for me, first of all, I disagree with Prof, respectively, on the question of Ruto. Because if you look at the problems in this country for the last, say, 9 years, including the national debt, which now we are debating whether it's at 9 trillion or even 11 trillion or 7 trillion. William Ruto has deputized the problems we have in Kenya today. So for me, my challenge to Prof here is this.
Yes.
Let's stop being analytical and perfecting the art of lamentation that our problem is this. I want you, Prof, to offer yourself and say, as a Kenyan who is conscious and knows the problems of this country, this is my program for now we can help this country. The problem we have, Prof, and the turnaround for us in this country is when people like you and I will stop analyzing the same people who have been in government since 90s or whatever and expecting that they will work some miracle. That is what Albert Einstein called insanity. Doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting different results. Listen, I think in this country today, Kenyans are to blame.
Okay.
Dr. Ojuang, if he was here, he will repeat his usual statement that we are willing slaves, Prof.
We ask how tight can it be?
We watch these people. Look, let me give you an example. Someone like, say, Raila Odinga, who people talking about, just a week and a half ago, he was on fire, or is still even on fire right now.
Maybe.
For channeling what he considers development projects in only his Luo Nyanza. And I had the Luya MPs, I saw my friend Ayub Savula, Malala, all complaining. I'm looking at them. So they should be saying to people, we have finally confirmed that some of the people who want to lead this country are just selfish. Given the opportunity to govern this country or even to rule this country, there is nothing they can do for the rest of the country. So I say that the turnaround for us as a country is us, Prof, offering ourselves. And I don't know why you are forgetting that Punguza Mizigo is one of the most brilliant ideas that will even reduce the burden that we see in this budget. Because the same people in government, one of the things that if you tell me that a leader who is in government today, who disagrees, for example, with policies of the present government, is unable to resign and say, I don't want to be associated with this government, they are part and parcel of the problem. You watch and see, Prof, and this is part of our political prophecy in this show. I am seeing the making of another NAC coalition next year. Watch this space.
But you know what? As I watch the space, I've not disagreed. You have disagreed with me.
Yeah. For saying it,
I said,
let me explain.
Ruto, first of all, let's be fair to Ruto. He has not deputized the debt crisis in Kenya. Ruto was thrown out of the mainstream, the center of government, long time ago, and he was replaced.
What is the evidence?
You know what?
What is the evidence?
Raila Odinga was even addressed in Kisumu as Mr. President. He's a deputy president.
I said in the protocol. Yes. I saw the protocol, and that was wrong.
I'm sure if I were him, I would have corrected that. I would have said that, but I think he wanted it that way. So he's the president, and probably to some people he's the president, to others he's the deputy president.
But you know,
so what I'm telling you is this.
Some other guy from
the way Ruto was treated in this government from 2017, it changed his thinking. Now, all of us can have a chance. You served in the committee of experts. Yeah. At that time, maybe you didn't have Pungusa Muziko. And as a committee of experts, you thought you had fixed the problem of Kenya through the 2020 constitution. Yes. There were a few other things that maybe didn't work properly. Yeah. But now you have come up with Punguza Mzigo. I didn't say Ruto. I said the people of Kenya have a chance to do certain things in a particular way. Yeah. It doesn't mean I will not offer myself. Yes. I know you can offer yourself. Yes. You are a decent man. You have good ideas. But right now, the big thing in town is the bottom-up approach. You know, the other presidential candidates who are around, even if they served in government before, I've told you that Musalia doesn't tell you what he wants, or Kalonzo doesn't tell you what he wants. Maybe what you can get from Raila, he wants reggae, and probably he will take the whole country dancing everywhere. So we would like to develop from this bottom-up approach, see whether that discourse helps us. If it doesn't help us, what is the alternative? Let's build up certain models among our people who want to lead this country, and then pick the best.
So for me, then in the context of what is the turnaround for us as a country, I will say this, Prof. And this is something that we've been trying to talk about in this show for long. Can we at least for a moment pause? Yes. Or stop?
Yes.
And think about, do we have alternatives in Kenya? Because part of the problem in Kenya, Prof, as you know, and you're a political animal yourself, we have been regurgitating and speaking about the same people for decades and decades.
Yes.
And yet actually there is nothing we see in them. That's why, for example, today, as you pointed out rightfully, someone like Gideon Moi, who is nothing other than just the name Moi.
Yes.
Musalia, without the name Mudavadi. What are they?
Weekly.
We don't even know Weekly, but I think we know Mudavadi. Yes. Kenyatta, the same thing. Today, those fellows are coalescing and telling us they can form something called One Alliance.
One Kenya Alliance.
One Kenya Alliance. And if you think about it...
An alliance of less people.
Yes. If you think about it, Musalia Mudavadi came into government at almost age 28.
Yes.
Politics of inheritance.
Yes.
Kalonzo Musyoka. All these people have never known what it means to work hard for this. They do not know what it means to take your car to a garage, wait there for it to be repaired, to fuel it. They don't know what it means to even buy yourself maybe a ticket or a home or whatever the case may be. So the turnaround for me, Prof, is Kenyans need to stop talking about the same personalities all the time. Kenya is a population of about 50 million people. We are very intelligent human beings in this country, including you, Prof, who is teaching. I mean, you can imagine how many people you have really taught, ushered into this hopeless economy, you know, from just equipping them with intellectual acumen, you know. So there are many Kenyans. So for me, they turn around to talk for a moment. Tuanze kuongea alternative ya Professor Kisiangani, Gerald Bitok, because me have been there.
EKURU AUKOT.
EKURU AUKOT. Moro kitu akaniyo ni say hata tuachane EKURU AUKOT. 2017 alijaribu, hebu sasa tujaribu Bitok.
Niongeze mzigo.
Tuanze kujaribu other new ideas. And I think maybe Prof, that way we can actually begin to see things differently, because the problem is we have always seen the problems in Kenya from one by
through the same eyes. Okay.
Same people. Like now, honestly, can you imagine, Prof? And you were here 2017. You can imagine the vitriol we saw from Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta during campaigns.
Yes.
Yeah? the division they brought in, the tension, the political tension. And then thereafter, handshake happened. Then to Mesahau, there was that problem. There was that division. Even right now, BBI as we speak, and we've spoken about it many times. Has BBI actually united this country or divided it even more?
We are in a worse state.
Worse state.
Yes.
Actually, in fact, the way this country is now being governed, Prof, and I could be wrong, it just makes me think about, I think even President Moi was much better. Because there are certain things today I can tick the box and say, President Moi, I think, first of all, something like education. I know he invested heavily in education. Even look at President Moi, say cabinet. Yeah, I know these guys have taken us to the Moi context, the Kanu context of Moi. But
there's no balance.
Hata ukiangalia cabinet ya Moi, compare na Kibaki, they are balanced. Look at this one.
But you can say that to all government departments. It's clear disparities are there. How many people come from particular area? There's no balance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So the turnaround is for us to think alternatively.
Turnaround is for us to think alternatively and look at other options.
Let's consider Kisangani and Bitoka.
Sasa wacha mimi ni support mimi kama rais, Kisiangani kama deputy.
Mimi ni running man. Sindio?
Running man. Kazi kwisha. Tumeingiza sasa wewe, tutakuja tukuingiza tukutengeneza BBI yetu, unakuwa prime minister.
Your BBI IPT.
Mimi sitaki mambo ya prime minister. We've tried a prime minister position at independence. Ikatukaranga. Tukajaribu prime minister 2017.
Imetukaranga zaidi.
Kwanza 2017 was even interesting because we even passed a law that says that the president and the prime minister share powers in equal measure.
Okay.
And we made the prime minister the supervisor and coordinator of all government ministries and departments. What did we see instead?
Nada.
Tuachana mambo ya prime
Zilo.
minister.
Haya, wacha tuangalie gazeti headlines haraka upesi, alafu tukirudi tunakuja kuchukua bunge, tufungue bunge la mwananchi, alafu then we roll the conversation in the next 45 minutes tuweze kuzungumzia mambo mengine ya kisiasa. Daily Nation political faced with outsized repayment obligations against modest revenue. Yatani presents a measured plan. Budget of debt, hope, right? Debt and hope. Oxymoron. Oxymoron. Education gets 530 billion, with 281.7 billion going to TSC, and universities get 76.3 billion and 15.8 billion going to help. Pending bills, ministry departments, agencies and counties are directed to clear all pending bills by June 30. Infrastructure, 182.5 billion for building for roads and bridges. Kenya shillings 27.2 billion for the Nairobi Naivasha SGR. Okay. Health gets 121 billion to improve health outcomes. Kenya shillings 14.3 billion for faster rollout of COVID-19 vaccines. Interesting. Higher. Let's go to the losers because we've talked about the winners. The losers: motorcycles exercise duty at flat rate at 15%. Its motorbikes priced above 79,000. Bread now turudi kwa ngwashe. Bread shift from being zero rated to standard will result in price increase. LPG gas to tax 16% VAT after 1 year delay. LPG now to be costlier by about 160 for 6 kg cylinder. Punters and betting to kuwekelea bet reintroduced exercise duty on betting at the rate of 20% of the amount. Mining, resident subcontractors in the mining and petroleum sector to pay 10% without withholding tax on service fees. Jewelry importers of necklaces, rings and bracelets to pay excess duty on 10%. Okay, that's the Daily Nation. It's time to gaga as Euro 2020 bonanza. That's on the page 2, page 3. Still talking about the debts of the budget of debt. Okay, 15 billion IEBC wajenge ofisi. People Daily, Yatani's big 4 budget, 60 billion goes to well, I've read all the same things. I don't think I need to go back to that. Okay, hiyo ni wamesema legacy budget. Okay, wacha tuangalie gazeti gani nyingine hapa. Looking at the, let me see, Star, Yatani works a tight rope on COVID-19 budget. That is another story. You must respect the law. Ruta tells Uhuru. Allah. Okay. COVID pushes health budget to 221 billion. Kagwe extends contracts for 101 Cuban doctors. Oi. Aya, sawa. Aya, siasa on the Star. Will she measure up? Martha Koome heavily scrutinized before she even settles in. Aya, naona hapo Taifa Leo madeni tu. Inasemekana kwamba Uhuru Kenyatta tangu achukue usukani has been able to borrow 5.3 trillion Kenyan shillings. I'm duly informed that is actually 9 trillion. Okay, Kibaki borrowed 1.2 trillion in his term. The whole of his term, Kibaki borrowed 1.2 trillion, and Moi in 24 years borrowed 629 billion in 24 years.
Yes.
So yote azile tunasema turudishe kwa Moi, at least there's also some profit.
Yes.
In being taken back to Moi's. In 24 years, 629 billion.
Kibaki in 1.7, is it 1.7 trillion?
1.7 trillion. No, 1.7 trillion. That is
5 point something trillion. Or 6, whatever.
Okay, let me see. Kibaki is 1.2 trillion. 1.2 trillion in 5 years. More in 24 years, 609 billion. Uhuru Kenyatta in the last 7 years, not even 10. 7 years is 5.3 trillion. That's what he's been able to borrow. Haya ndio mambo yalivyo kwenye magazeti. I don't know if anyone has anything to comment on the newspapers as we open bunge.
Na wacha tusikie bunge wanasemaje.
Okay. Let's nangoja bunge tuifungue bunge. Let's quickly roll on the conversation. Now, we're talking every time we talk about the other now the headlines are saying the budget is a legacy budget. Tuanza na Joel Larama. Jambo, good morning. Saidia simu. Bunge la mwananchi. Bunge la mwananchi.
Hey, Bwana Gerald, good evening. Good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
Leo niko macho bwana.
Naona hujalala.
Leo sijalala. Jana nilipatikana kidogo, but I'm thankful today. Sasa kuna jamaa hapo nimeona umeleta leo. We speak the same language. Anapenda kuchapa watu viboko.
Amesema watu wapigwe viboko wasitubinie.
Watu watandiko makofi hata ya makroni ni afadhali. Kwa sababu watu wanachezea wananchi akili, but as you are talking, mimi na swali moja kwa mheshimiwa AUKOT.
Tafadhali uliza.
Gerald, the other day ulipost ambaye ati kuna sheria wabunge walipitisha kwamba saizi hata viazi, jameni, viazi, mimi ni mtu wa Molo, nimelelewa na viazi. Sasa viazi imekuwa illegal.
Umewekewa sheria baba, nikubaya.
On top of that, nikubaya. On top of that, nimeona sasa wameingilia watu ya Baringo na asali. Sasa tena asali pia wanataka kuregulate, utapigwa fine ya 5 million.
Nyuki bwana nyona bembeleza ikae kwako.
Now, it is a clear indication we don't have a parliament. We don't have representative in parliament.
That's true.
The only hope we have ni the court system. Jamani, is there a way we can challenge these laws and have them thrown out? Because why would, for example, I was seeing the minister in charge, or was it the PS, who was saying, beekeeping, it will be brought to participation, for public participation. Why are you bringing a bad law for people to discuss? And even if we discuss, just the same way as the so-called BBI when they started collecting, there is no instant anywhere when people present their views where they said we want more constituency. What people say was never put in place. They went and put in their own thing. None anasema hata hii tukiparticipate in public tuseme we don't want this law, they are going to do. They are still going to do what they want. But do we have a recourse to challenge and stop these laws? Because Ababu, how are you going to implement such a law like that one for the Irish potatoes? For some of us who have grown potatoes all our he wants money. Umepanda Irish potato because there is one or the other. You have to give him money. Ukienda kuuza kwa barabarani, hata barabarani unaenda Nairobi na viazi, it's still a problem. You have to bribe people. Please, our country is getting in trouble. Now, to my dear friend mwenye amekuja after a whole year,
Professor
I
KISIANGANI,
think we should call a spade a spade. When somebody is making a mistake, I have all respect for the deputy president in so many ways and many things that he has done or challenges. But, like, you cannot take him out of this failed government because he has been part of it.
That's true.
Now, like AUKOT said, if you disagree, whether a member of parliament or any other person, if you disagree with where the government is going, there is one option that I will respect any day. resign.
Resignation.
Okay. I resign.
If you resign, then I will respect you because you have said this thing is not going anywhere. We are getting in trouble. Let's walk away.
And that is called
and
integrity.
Go talk to the people because I am sure.
And that's what is called integrity.
Integrity. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm very.
Thank you. Hey, Jambo. Bungala Mwenyenchi.
Hello. Good morning, General.
Good morning to you. How are you?
It's Martin.
Yes, Martin. Martin wa Kikuyu ama Martin wa Kasarani? Wa Kasarani, sio?
Huyo former.
Jambo mtu wa Kasarani. Wa Kikuyu. Jambo.
I just want to say hello to Professor Apple.
Asante.
And our former opposition leader alinyamaza kabisa.
Leo mumeamua hamna chips mumeuza.
Ni bwana, ni corona ilitupanga kidogo, so tukaona tu acha tuangalie.
Aliyekuwa.
EKURU.
Yes sir.
EKURU ulituambia baba alikataa kwenda kwa election ukaenda. Na ukajitwika kofia ya opposition leader. What happened?
But I've been doing the best things, but ushaipata the best proposal to help this country than punguza mizigo. Wachana na hii ongeza mizigo inaitwa BBI.
Sasa hiyo si ni kitambo. Hii maneno budget inapangwa, wananchi wanakanyagiwa shingo chini. Wewe unasema nini?
Rais ako wapi?
Si niko hapa, niko pa boss. Si unaona nimekuja leo tukuchambua hii maneno.
Bana, you know, it really doesn't make sense that the National Assembly wanapatia close to 40 billion.
46 actually.
And we have an entire county like Nairobi getting like 28 billion. That really makes sense.
Doesn't make sense. I agree.
You know, we really need to have a discussion about how these things are going on.
Okay.
If not, then I think the establishment knows that we have already given up, and they are now on a destruction path. Wanataka kuharibu kila kitu before watoke. So we really need to have an open-minded discussion about these things so that come 2022 we have a very peaceful transition. Because you know what they're trying to do is that they're trying to see how much can we be able to press these people so that they can be able to react. And umbo ishafika kwa kona, itauma mtu. So
ikikoza bado bakuepe itauma mtu.
Itauma mtu. No doubt. So wacha waendelee kufanya hizo vitu zote. Unajua boda riders ni wangapi Kenya mzima? 1.6 million. Hawa watu wote wakisema ati wanataka kuweka strike. Hiyo story ya baba hata itasikika.
Na boda wamegongwa.
Boda they have almost wameongeza price ya boda sasa imeongezwa 15,000. So kama mtu alikuwa ananunua boda 130 sasa ananunua 145.
Lakini sisi wataongeza bei ya kubeba kwa nduthi.
Sasa utakuwa unabebwa na 70 kama ilikuwa chwane.
Sasa hata sisi pia tutaumia.
Itabidi sasa tutarudi kuendesha baiskeli sasa. But unajua sasa mtu boda akikosa pesa, unajua watafanya nini? And you know most of these people haven't gone to school. Some of them are just surviving through boda. So I think the government should wake up and understand that when they continue pushing their citizens towards the wall, then they are going to have very bad reaction from the citizens.
Asante sana Martin wa Kikuyu. Amesema umbo wako kwa kona. Umbo wako kwa kona itauma mtu. Bunge la Mwananchi 0779801010 Bunge la Mwananchi 0779801010 tukupa nafasi ya kuweza kuchangia. Bado kuna masimu ambazo zimepotea mengi kadhaa hapo. Lakini Bunge la Mwananchi bado iko wazi kwa dakika zingine 10 uweze kutuchangia, utuambie mahali ulipo unafikiria hii bajeti inakupeleka vipi? Naona kwamba mpangilio wa serikali weze turn around in this country. Kama umbo iko kwa kona basi itageukia wapi? Jambo Bunge la Mwananchi.
Bunge la Mwananchi, good morning girl.
Good morning to you sir.
Salamia hapo daktari na profesa. Leo kuna vichwa tu.
Nasalimika.
You have legal mind hapo mzuri na kupeleka mzuri vichwa tupo. Sasa ndio daktari. Tupeleke maandamano tutoe uhuru kwa kiti bana. We cannot speak this much. Tunaweza ingia maandamano bana.
Mnataka maandamano?
Tunataka maandamano bana, we miss this tear gas.
Is he expire?
Watatushika watasema ati we are flouting COVID rules because lakini wao wakilete watu kwa stadium sijui wapi huko, it's okay.
Daktari, I'm asking. What is the worst that can happen to you ukishikwa?
There's nothing.
Are you the first one kushika? Will you be the last one kushikwa?
Of course not.
So daktari afungue kitu. Kuingia kwa barabara.
Daktari afungue kitu bana, we need to fight for our own democratic right. It is there in the constitution.
Wacha
it is not something illegal.
Wacha nikae na vijana kesho tupange kazi.
We should do things the right way, and if somebody feels he's so superior, hata hiyo kwenda kwa barabara itamtisha, ata feel like we indeed people against this. But when we just talk on social media and these other platforms, there's nothing really that they feel. You see now, like the president, ayuko Twitter, ayuko wapi, yani kuambia tu kama vitina.
Ndio wanasema
information. Anaambia wamesema hivi lakini iko hivi. You see now, kuna wale watu wanamtuliza, wanaambia hii haina shida, itakuwa hivi. But wakati anasikia Nairobi imesimama, business is not going on because people are striking because he's violating the court orders and other things. He'll atasikia kidogo. Unajua ile country yake ikikuwa ungovernable, hata hii msaada akienda kuombombo huko anaambia na italipika kweli, naona huko kwako haishikiki. You are not in control of your house. So hata madeni hata tupinya nazo sana.
Sasa kama unataka EKURU demonstrate against Kenyatta. Hello? Sasa
yes, nakusikiza.
Sasa yeye akidemonstrate against Kenyatta inamaanisha na wale wana support Kenyatta nao utawapikia kura?
You see now,
kuna Kenya Alliance nini, sasa utaamwaje wewe? Hiyo maandamano itakuwa tu against the president ama kwa watu wanamsupport na wala ana support wanataka wachukue uongozi?
Tunaweza kiona wenye na support ni wengi, waandamane Tuesday, sisi tuanze Monday.
Ni mwanze Monday.
Sisi tuanze Monday kwa sababu sisi tuko wengi. Tufunge siku ya kwanza ya wiki. Naweza elections zingine tumwabakishie, we see which one will be having better demonstrations.
Asante Farid.
Bora polisi to protect tu.
Polisi wagani labda mkuja na wenu. Jambo bunge la mwananchi, jambo.
Yes, jambo, huyu ni Joe Halende.
Joe Halende.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
Unadu?
Anasema msitubringie. Sema Joe.
Mimi nimepiga kusalimia profesa wangu.
Santi.
Na kusalimia
Mluya na salamu.
Tumesalimika.
But my observation is this. Wananchi wanaumia and actually the country has lost direction. But the general concern from Kenyans now is to shift the direction towards hope. How do we give hope to hopeless Kenyans? How do we change the conversation to tell Kenyans that there's a better tomorrow? And that should be the direction or the discourse going forward. Because we cannot tell Kenyans to wait for 2022.
Okay. We have to give them a solution now. Asante sana Joe Halende. Jambo, good morning. Bunge la mwananchi.
Good morning.
Bunge la mwananchi, jambo.
Bunge la mwananchi ni Abraham Jalanga kutoka Eldoret.
Jambo Abraham.
Nzuri sana. Ningependa kuongea na daktari.
Ongea na daktari.
Abraham.
Daktari, tumeongezewa mzigo bwana.
Chamge bwana.
Chamge daktari.
Sasa tumeongezewa mizigo. Kwanza nilikuwa naambia watu BBI ni mizigo inaongezeka. Sasa budget pia imeongeza tena zaidi. Punda amechoka.
Punda amekufa na wewe bado tumekupea signature wewe.
Hata punda hajachoka amekufa.
Na mnanyonya.
Sisi bwana
unanyonya punda marehemu. Ongelea wananchi huko.
Tunangoja wewe ufanye jambo bwana. Mimi niliweka signature na ninangoja wewe useme let's go this way. Lakini ukiendelea kunyamaza bwana bado tutaumia, tutakufa wote.
Tuko sasa tumejitokeza.
Sawa na tunangojea tuseme jambo wote tuokoe nchi.
Asante sana Chelaga. Poleni sana, sema punda tu haijachoka, punda imekufa. Bunge la mwananchi hiyo, nafasi ya mwananchi kuweza kuzungumza na kutuambia anaonaje vile nchi yake inaenda. Umesikia ati punda amechoka na kuna watu bado anaweka punda mzigo. Punda marehemu. Lakini bado anaekelewa mzigo. Jambo bunge la mwananchi.
Bunge la mwananchi, jambo Gerard.
Fiti sana mambo.
Salama sana, this is Martin Waru from
Wakasarani sasa. Haya, jambo Martin. Sasa this is a fan of
salama sana.
Next week anaingia kuja kutuambia mambo yake. Haya, sema Martin.
Salimia daktari Kisiangani and EKURU.
Asante.
Salimika.
Now, mine is actually a question and it's some kind of a proposal, eh? Because of the misuse that we are seeing, especially of the National Intelligence Service, yeah? And where the president comes and says, I have adverse reports about this individual, in the US, we have something that we call security clearance, yeah? Such that if it's the members of the National Assembly Committee on Security and Administration, you find that they are cleared so that they can access some classified information, yeah? And that would also apply to members of the judiciary. For instance, a person like, the CJ could have security clearance so that he is also able to access classified information, yeah? So that it is not left to the executive to just say, I have advanced, reports or information which is classified against Dr. EKURU AUKOT, and it is only him, it's his word against everybody else's, We need to have somewhere in our legislation, perhaps the National Intelligence Service Act, whereby we can say, these classes of individuals outside the executive, perhaps within the National Assembly or even the judiciary, have security clearance, so that even these issues of audit, whereby we say, these monies, we don't even know how some of these, agencies spend some of our public funds, but we need to know. Having that security clearance does not mean that we access information that perhaps, touches on national security and could be compromised. We just want to have people who can peep in and say, we confirm this is the actual status of things, yeah? I think we need to demystify, our national security agencies. They cannot be beyond audit or accountability. We need to start that conversation. And I think it doesn't make sense for me, the chairperson of the National Assembly Committee on Security and National Security and Administration, or even in the Senate, cannot even people who have occupied those offices, for example, the National Intelligence Service, and they have retired. Sometimes some of these people have security clearance even when they have exited government. We need to start that conversation. And I think that is one of the solutions that is going to help us, solve, this conundrum, so that, the executive does not act with mischief and, a vendetta. And, we need to start that conversation.
Right. As you go, how will you remember the president? Maraga has already given his remembrance tribute that you'll remember him as a man who was at war with the Constitution. How will you remember President Uhuru Kenyatta as he winds up? Because he said this is his legacy budget. Yeah.
For me, the president, I would choose to forget him than remember him. But if I have to remember him, I think I would, remember him as a person. I think it's one of the worst things that ever happened in this country. This is a person that we should never have elected into office. He is so, he is full of vindictiveness, vendetta, and, he thinks, he can do anything and get away with it. He is the best example of people that we should not have in office. And I think I just want him to finish and go. Amalize, I end. I don't want to remember him. For what now?
Ala memory utakumpe?
Si remember. Ala? No. You have already remembered.
Asante sana Martin Waru, and looking forward to seeing you next week.
Okay, sawa.
Asante sana. Pole Lukatiza, sijui kama ulikuwa unasema kitu, maliza tu. Ndio song.
Pana. I'm okay. You have, it's nice, always catching up with you and listening to Professor and all the guests that you bring, they are so full of, fresh ideas. And, they give the population hope because, hope is a good thing and it's a bad thing, but I think at this particular moment we need that hope so that at least we get, to 2022 and make better choices.
At least kama hatuna kakitu, tukuwa na matumaini.
Yeah. Sure.
Mungu ni mwema. Asante sana Martin Warui, enjoy your weekend. Simu ya mwisho, huyo naye amepotea. Okay, I'll just take one last call kwenye bunge la mwananchi 07798010 au 07798010. One last call, alafu tukirudi tunakuja kuingia kwa mazungumzo. Simu ya mwisho tu kwa sababu ya watu ambao nimeweza kuwafungia nje. Tukirudi nataka niwaambie nyinyi madaktari wawili. Unajua mimi sijasoma sana kama nyinyi. Lakini hiki kitu inaitwa legacy. Unajua kwanza nilishangaa. Niliona kumbe wa Kenya ni watu werevu sana. You really underestimate the intelligence of Kenyans most of the times. There's actually a Kenyan in a village who sat down under a tree and said, I want an ombudsman. Tafakari hayo. Haya, bunge la mwananchi.
Hello.
Jambo
Ni Aaron.
Aaron, niambie dadi.
Salamia wangwana.
Tumesalimika Aaron.
Asante.
Sasa hii Kenya yetu my friend. Mali imefika
kwa sababu mtu ameanza tu hata ukiingia kwa Uber usiketu hii Kenya yetu. Haya, endelea.
Si ndio bwana? Sasa unaona budget sasa tunaongezewa mzigo. Na hata sija kufanya anything. So hapo kusurvive tu lazima ukue cartel ama ukue thief ama conman.
Lazima ukue gondi fulani hivi.
Lazima ukue disport hapa ndio survive bwana. So, lakini pia Wakenya ndio wakulaumiwa. Wao ndio wana elect these people. So I think wanafanya they elect them. Wanasemanga kila kitu kuna consequences. So time now angalia wafikirie vizuri kwa sababu ndio waliweka kwa ofisi. So Uhuru anafanya je anataka kufanya kwa sababu Kenyans are allowing him to do what he wants to do.
Okay.
So kama Wakenya wamefinyika waamuke waende kwa street bana. Kwani iko nini? Waende kwa street wa fight for their right. Lakini wakikaa hapo kwa Twitter na Facebook kulament. Uhuru alitoka Twitter saizi anakosteta hata angalia hizo vitu. So
kwani
ukitaka kumwona
ukitaka kumwona
unajua Uhuru ile kitu amefanya.
Bunge la mwananchi
alitoka Twitter.
Salama sana, naongea na nani?
Naongea na Kevin hapa.
Sema Kevin, simu yako ndio mwisho. Tumalize haraka.
Haya, wakati ambapo Joel Ngugi the judge alisema the president can be
actually called him Mr. Kenyatta.
Mr. Kenyara.
Yes, Mr. Kenyatta. Why don't we why akina AUKOT hapo mbona tusifanye vitu ambavyo huyu jamaa atapelekwa kotini? Why don't we institute kama parliament imeshikwa? Why don't we institute charges against him? Hata hii mambo ya BBI kila kitu arudishe pesa, afuatwe kabisa. Why don't we do this?
Afanye jambo, EKURU afanye kitu.
Afanye kitu. Tumfuate yeye mwenyewe, afuatwe kabisa. Hii mambo anavunja sheria, anafanya nini? Why can't he be? Afuatwe kabisa. We single out, tuamue ni yeye na ni yeye na ni yeye. Arudishe kila kitu ameiba, afanye kila kitu. Kama BBI inatumia karibu 10 billion. Hii mambo yote, why should hii pesa ilienda wapi? Na vijana kama sisi hatuna kazi. Watu tunakaa tu hapa tukiteseka. We should focus, kama ni litigation, it should be the president anafaa afuatwe yeye mwenyewe. And saizi court of appeal ikiwa sasa majudges wameenda ni wale ambao list imechangiwa. Let us focus sasa na high court basi. Kwa sababu huko ndio kuna maneno, hapo ndio kuna justice.
Okay. Asante sana ndugu yangu. Unajua anasema siku hizi wasemi good morning Kenya, wanasema amkeni tuteseke.
Tunateseka pamoja na tunasaidika.
Asante sana ndugu yangu. Asante sana kwa weekend njema, tuteseke pole at least tuweze kuishi. Asante sana. Thank you so much. That was the last call on bunge la mwananchi. Thank you so much for the guys, and I also apologize those guys that have missed their calls. Pole sana. Bunge la mwananchi bado itarudi Monday, tutaanza kuzungumza tujue tutafanya nini. Anyway, now guys, in the next 30 minutes we have 30 minutes minutes left. Actually, not 30 minutes, 28 minutes. Now, let's roll the conversation very quickly. A legacy, and I was saying something about...
But let's answer some questions there. For example, I think Arama has the question, whether there is something we can do about this, especially in the question of the potatoes. Yes, if it can be nullified. If the question is, if it turns out to be unconstitutional, yes, we can go to court and even expunge some parts of the law. That has happened before. There are enough precedents in law to that extent. And of course, the other thing that maybe Arama also needs to know now, and the Prof spoke about it, the fact that they are now targeting asali, nyuki, they are targeting your potatoes, that tells you one thing. There's something wrong with this budget, because if you are going for the small person, and Prof started by that saying, umaskini hapa now is a criminal, he's being punished. Ukianzisha tu biashara kidogo, they come after you. It's no longer the police who are coming after you on the street. Even your own parliamentarians now are coming after you, because 27 of them sat in that budget instead of saying, no, if I'm the MP from Molo or Njoro, where Arama is growing his potatoes, surely that MP should have had something I say about that. If you're from Baringo, you're Asali, that is really, why are you coming after such people? It means really, like Prof again said, that this country only rewards big businesses but kills the small businesses. But yes, we can go to court, we can challenge it.
Prof, I don't know if you have any comments on the callers, on the bunge.
You know, the callers have demonstrated, Gerard and my colleague, Prof, you know, they have demonstrated national anger. It is good for the executive to listen. There is national anger about the suffering we are having. Nothing is being done about it. So even when we are on a show like this, we are not acting, we are not making fun. We went to school using public funds, you and me, and we have a duty to give back. The way to give back is to create this national conversation and see whether our knowledge can help us. We also think like the people across the streets that there's something wrong in the town of Denmark. I'm quoting Shakespeare, and I say, there's something wrong in the town of Nairobi. There's something wrong in the town of Kenya. Things are not doing very well. So, in terms of leaders, because I think that's where you are going, does the president want to leave office when people have this kind of anger against him? What does he think? I think those who have been handling him, his handlers, should be free to get to him to say, Mr. President, when you came to power in 2013, people celebrated. But where are these people now? They have gone away. Something must have gone wrong. What did you do to them? So even if he can't correct most of the things he has done wrong, including the altercation between him and the judiciary, the attempt to change our constitution and constitutionally, he has a duty to get back and say, I think looking back, I was wrong. But I'm your president. Forgive me. I think he should do that. Similarly, the former prime minister should also say, as a long-serving member of the opposition, I had a duty to redirect the executive to address the problems that I have been fighting, the issues I've been fighting for all this time. But instead of doing so, I joined them to continue violating some of the laws that I hold so dear to my chest. So for doing that and for also participating in misleading the executive, not only to violate the constitution, but also to completely forget about the problems of the people of Kenya, I also apologize. They will emerge. That is the legacy they should leave behind. The legacy of, I'm sorry, I didn't do the right thing, forgive me.
But you see, Bitok, and one of the callers actually raised a very fundamental question with respect to, say, someone like William Ruto, who I think is, lying to Kenyans that is the next big thing to beat in 2022, when it's absolutely, untrue. Because, and he raised the question of integrity. Do you know, one of the geniuses of Kenya's constitution is Chapter 6, leadership and integrity. That you must respect that office, you must not demean that office, you must respect the people. And see, there's one thing that, people who have been in government, You know, all these people we are talking about right now towards 2022 have been one time either in one government or in different governments or in coalition and all that. So I think when the leaders can see that the country actually is not doing the right thing or the government is not doing the right thing, integrity is there. I mean, they are really have to either leave that government and say, I don't want to be associated with it because I've failed. Yeah. I failed to deliver. That is called integrity. And that is in our constitution, chapter 6. Number 2, of course, we don't have a parliament. It's clear that Jubilee government is a failed government. There's nothing, even in terms of legacy, that we can associate this government with other than the word failure. Total failure. Okay. Because it's the only government that has promised even our little kids a laptop. Who lies to a child? Who lies to a child? You know, I mean, I'm a parent. I'm sure you are a parent, so is Prof. You know, who lies to a small child that I'll give you nitakuletea peremende na uleti? Yeah? Who lies to our young people that mkimaliza university nitawapatia kazi 3 million jobs? So Jubilee government can only be associated with failure, and so is President Uhuru. It can only be associated with the fact that he's the only president that has actually put us in huge financial debt that is not even you and me who will pay. It is our children or their grandchildren. In fact, for some of us, our children now are in teenage. So they will not even pay that debt. Yeah. But it is their children. So this is a burden mzigo wa Kenya wameongezewa. But it raises for me a third problem, which when I listen to the callers, do we have representatives in this country? And maybe this is the hard reflection that we must have as a country. When we elect these people, tell them, go represent us, pass legislations, and oversight government. The answer is we don't. And that's why I go back to the fundamental question you raised. What is really our turnaround as a country? And I think our turnaround is for us now to shine the spotlight inwards and say, what is it that I, Professor Kisiangani or EKURU, AUKOT or Bitok can actually do from my own existential location? What can I do to contribute? Because this art of us lamenting and complaining about these people, to be honest with you, there is absolutely nothing that President Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, Ruto, Mudavadi, Kalonzo, the people who have been speaking about, there is absolutely nothing else they know other than to wake up one morning and say, okay, where is a funeral today? What can I do today politically? Because that is what they... So in a nutshell, I would say this. It is the Kenyan populace, is the Kenyan electorate, is the Kenyan with the know-how who have actually been the enablers of this lackluster, fakeless leadership that we have had that is now putting us in the kind of this unrealistic budget and putting us into more trouble. So we need to wake up and smell the coffee and do something about it. Because to be honest, like the other caller said, there is nothing of legacy to remember Uhuru. I would rather, maybe the best thing is not to remember him at all.
You Prof, you have spoken very passionately about certain leaders that you think have let us down. If you look at the allegations against the deputy president, because I think you have you have talked about him twice. You are a lawyer, a very distinguished legal mind. Where is the evidence against Ruto?
On what?
On many of the allegations that have made. It's not you who has made those allegations.
Yes.
There have been things about our role. There have been things about him stealing money. But when you ask even very distinguished brains in this country to tell you exactly what they will not tell you. It contributes to the integrity issue, which was being played.
I think, Prof, you've jumped the gun. The integrity issue here is not about... First, as a lawyer, I have never accused Ruto of being a thief or doing anything. And for me, Bitokia can bear me witness. I'm trying to run away always from discussing our country in the context of a few individuals. I've said that many times. All I'm saying is in terms of the integrity around the deputy president is the fact that people have even seen comment where people are saying he was relegated long time ago, he's no longer in government. If you are no longer in government, if you are not wanted, ukija kwangu, assuming government ni ya mtu, ni serikali ya mtu, ni nyumba ya mtu. Kuseme hii serikali sasa ni nyumba ya Uhuru Kenyatta na nyumba ya Raila. Wewe utajilazimisha kwenda kwa nyumba ya mtu?
No, you see that is the point I'm coming to Gerard. You see, Ruto is not answerable to Uhuru. You should know that the legitimacy of Ruto's leadership is from the people under Article 1 and 2 of the Constitution. Now, it's us who have delegated power to Ruto, the people, through an election. It is not Uhuru. So when you say if he doesn't work with Uhuru, then he should resign, you are thinking that government is owned by Uhuru. This government was constituted by the people of Kenya. And what about if Uhuru doesn't want to work with Ruto? Why don't you tell Uhuru also to resign?
Yes.
Because the legitimacy is not about Uhuru. And so the focus on Ruto should quit. Ruto can't quit until we Kenyans tell him we don't want you, because he was not elected by Uhuru.
No.
If you want both of them to quit, that's a different. If they are not doing a good job, then there's something else. I want to let me finish this because you are talking about it, and you say they are integrity. And if you want to measure integrity in terms of Ruto not working with Uhuru, I think that measure is a bit constricted. It is narrow. You must say half the people of Kenya said they don't want Ruto, then he can say, I'm listening to the people. I think they don't want Ruto, and Ruto has refused to resign. But if it's Uhuru who doesn't want Ruto, kwani Uhuru ndiye anasimamia ndiye alipigia Ruto kura? You see, he has a backing. And by the way, I want to tell you this. You suggesting that we need other people is a correct thing. We need people with alternative what? Unfortunately, the alternative programs for changing Kenya have come from Ruto. And so we need other people to come up, and then we can weigh whether Ruto's option of the bottom up is going to change Kenya, or whether EKURU, AUKOT, or KISIANGANI's approach will change Kenya. If we don't have, as the situation stands now, Ruto is going to be the president of Kenya in a very short while. And so you will come here and complain about it, and Ruto is going to be the president. So what will you do about it?
So, Prof, let me tell you, with utmost respect, this is what I will do, Prof.
Yeah, what will you do?
Now, when I look at someone like yourself who is very eloquent and knowledgeable, yes, I get disappointed sometimes.
Yes.
Because you are buying into the obsession with the personalities in this country as if Kenya is only one or two personalities.
It's you who raised the point of personalities. You talked about Ruto, you talked about Raila.
Yes.
Those are personalities.
Yes.
That's why I have come to that level.
Yes, but I've told you also in this show, I am on record many times that let's run away from these personalities and talk about individuals. I even suggested the personality of you running as an alternative, and you didn't dispute that, Prof, and I wish you could agree to that. Yeah.
No, I was happy.
Yeah, so Prof, so I'm telling you, but Prof,
even me as a president,
let's get this correct so don't mislead Kenyans. To occupy an office, and to realize that in that office I am not being effective. The principle of resignation, as you know, in administrative or constitutional law,
yes,
can always be invoked by an individual.
Yes.
You don't need to tell us, at least now go to the street and say, do the people of Kenya want Ruto or not? No. Kazi ni yako tulikupatia. Ukiona hiyo kazi hauwezi, si watu na resign. Watu wanaandika hata letter of resignation kwa kazi. Yeah? Hata you can even disagree and say, sasa mimi nimekataliwa hapa, kwa nini najilazimisha na saki. So what we are saying, and let me tell you, Prof, if today, for example, even the deputy who we are defending, and it's your right to defend him, that he was relegated a long time ago. I think if Ruto today, for example, even resign from this government and say, kweli, tulienda Kasarani, tukaambia watu, in 6 months, takuwa na stadium. Sijui in 2 months, sijui takuwa, they were reading a script together as a team. And yes, I agree. Parliament should even censure this government. Yeah? They should bring a motion of censure.
But I've said even parliament is illegal. So
even parliament has been called illegal. So,
Maraga.
So it's a cartel. All government is a cartel. They know it's
so
about
maybe
survival.
now the people.
But for me, if I'm not wanted, I will not even associate with you. I will not even come and knock on your door. That is called integrity.
He's not wanted by Uhuru, but he's wanted by the people.
So, well, how did you measure that? No. How did you measure that?
Let me ask you.
Yeah?
How did you also measure that he's not wanted by Kenya?
But you know what I've tried to do?
Yeah.
Punguza Mizigo Kenya got 1.2 million endorsements from Kenyans. And that is a constitutional threshold.
But you
niambie what measures Ruto done. Compare Ruto and me.
And why are your policies not popular?
What do you mean my policies are not popular? Punguza Mizigo and BBI, can you even compare?
You see?
Okay, tell me, Prof,
I can support you. I can support you on one thing.
No,
I'll support you.
Yes.
What I think you should do, don't waste time talking about whether Ruto is doing the right thing. Sell punguza mziko to everybody. And if we compare your program with Ruto's and we realize that...
I don't know what is Ruto's program?
Bottom up.
Which one? Which one is this? Is it published? Is it published anywhere?
Don't be sarcastic.
No, I'm not.
Don't be sarcastic.
Prof.
You are representing your candidate. Prof. You are representing your candidate. He's your opponent.
Finally, you have accepted.
You are representing your candidate. You must respect your contestant.
You must respect the president. Asema lawyer huyu yuko kwa line.
Let's move on. Sasa inataka chai.
Baada ya saa hii tunaenda kunywa chai.
Waje tuletane na AUKOT. Why don't you bring us together? I mean,
sasa I'll give you an opportunity finally. I'll give you I'll read the comments first, then I'll give you the last opportunity to have a BBI between the two of you. Fine. Abbas Njuguna says EKURU, it's not rocket science. Ruto is not in government. Look at what President Suluhu is currently doing. Why didn't she act when Magufuli was still alive? This is a clear indication that president is responsible and answerable for unto anything and everything happening in his government. Odhiambo Robinson, our problem started when we elected the current leaders in 2013. I wish we listened to Mwalimu Dida. Okay, I don't know where Mwalimu Dida is these days. Jen Mumbi, but these third parties, why are they not filling in the vacuum? I think they're referring to you, EKURU. Cruz just says, ask what about the issue of increasing budget of 6 billion from 38 billion in parliament? Is parliament expanding? Good question. Is parliament expanding? Junior Ivana passes, professor should know that that dear was for William. You're going to manish aja. I just wonder, I didn't hear the 7-year tax holiday for the youth in the budget. Sinema. Okay. Wasi blessings anasema imbo iko kwa kona na itauma mtu kali sana baba.
Asante. Kimeumana ni noma.
Haya, Moses Kotud. Gerald, thanks for the tackle. That's only up for us Kenyans. I hope we get to change the country. A conversation at a time. You know, we start changing the country when we start talking. Yeah, that having these conversations, we change the country. Paul Bito says, nyinyi chezeni maandamano. Ilhali the one of the maandamano, yani Raila is in government. Mutatuanga musikie moto unless you recruit Raila. Okay. Abbas Njuguna, these guys would not arrest you. These guys would not arrest you this time when you go to the streets. They would simply shoot. They are nowadays manufacturing guns. Hiya. Hala. Kevin Kasio Sudo says, Gerald and both Dr. You are doing a good job. Thank you so much, Kevin. I really appreciate your comments. Frank Jr. Senior says, the executive is answerable to the 50 million Kenyans. The legislature is answerable to the people. And after 5 years, we have elections. To whom is the judiciary answerable? Okay. Pauline Jero says, good debate. Abraham Chelanga, power belongs to the people. Life is out here and the only executive are enjoying with a few psychophants. Sena Wako, Isho Kambura Cheveli, you should be watching this. Thank you so much for the recommendation. Keep sharing. Matusa Molo, thank you, Dr. EKURU. We are already in a hole. Ruta is lying to us. He will continue digging the hole. Kathleen Kate says, EKURU AUKOT, we respect you and we know you got a lot of wisdom, but you keep criticizing Ruta, but you are not coming out with a better alternative. I think you need to go public with ideas and let people make a decision. Abraham Chelanga, morning. Thanks to the panelists. Asante. Matusa Molo, Prof. Prof is drunk on Sugai dollar. I don't know. Sijui kama dollar. Joel Arama says, nakunywa supu. Leo ndiye ananua supu. Fermented water. Fermented water in honor of ilikuwa inaitwa aje mali miracle ilifanyika. Galili. Ama ilikuwa wapi?
On your way to Damascus.
Joel Arama says, Dr. Kisiangani, you are wrong. Please review what integrity means. James Mwenda, Kisiangani ameamua violence. Kwa jambo jibi ni continue. Asante sana violence. Naf Kitau anasema yuko tuned in. Asante sana. Tunaangalia watu wa YouTube tumewaacha sana. YouTube ndio wanatujenga sana, wako kabisa hapo wamekaa hapo wametulia. Hawana pressure tena, niangalia watu wa YouTube kidogo. Alafu nikirudi nakuja kuwapa nafasi ya kukubaliana wa mkosane. Two things. You either agree ama mkanyagane. Haya. Hata niangalie watu wa YouTube. Ale Grace Kamau, good morning. Asante sana. Grace Kamau has been very consistent as well on YouTube. Thank you so much, Grace Kamau. The guys from diaspora actually are really doing big on YouTube. King of Zamuda, good morning. Good morning to you. And some Professor Kisiangani, welcome to Takol. Karibu sana. Josephat Kibet, good morning. JB Muthaiga online. Asante sana. David Akero, good morning. If AUKOT is running, he has my vote. Sasa AUKOT and I'm also running and deputized by Kisiangani.
No, but at least your own listeners are not voting for you, so you must not support me. You must not.
Sasa lazima taleta kura kwako. Taform coalition. Vision to Football Kenya looked in from London. Great conversation. Only one NG can save Kenya, not the politicians or the executive. King of Samunda, Yatani offshore did guesswork, showing their foolishness to Kenyans. King of Samunda, I don't understand why we need expressway. Pure waste of money. Denon Joga, this year's budget can't care for the common Kenyan Mwananchi by zero rating basic commodities and only cares for the rich Kenyans than poor Kenyans. Interesting nation that we live in. John Jagi says that video is from Citizen Reality Check. Yeah. King of Samunda, Professor AUKOT, you are right. They promised things they couldn't fulfill. I smelled a dead rat the moment they said they'll build a stadium in Pokot in an area of pastoralists, pure clones. King of Samunda, sama look at kulani. Mahindi ilienda wapi? This government, by the way, nasikia shamba imeenda.
Ati wamegawanya wa 100,000.
Serious?
The moment
100 acres.
It's gone. The taxpayers, we use taxpayers' money to put in irrigation system there. It's gone.
You know, the Israeli government said it is the only project in the entire existence of the state of Israel where they actually put money and it's failed in Kenya. Wow. Can you imagine? That's a very
interesting review. So it's gone. Just if in case you didn't know, Kunadu is gone. They have shared with it 100 acres each. We need to go and get our shares.
Well. We need to do a search.
There was a story that was done. They pointed out Gideon's League. Salat, they're the ones who said. I'll share the article with you. The ones who are sharing the land. But anyway, Kunadu is gone. Grace Kamo says, my thought on the budget is total guesswork, period. King of Samunda and Sama was to bring here this. David Ngete, the government that spends money on its projects and borrows to fund. Okay, a government that spends money on its projects and borrows to fund its budget is a weak government, and a parliament that can't question a budget that steps on the heads of their employers is dead. Thomas Ocheng says, as usual, watching from Mugunja Markets here, counting great discussion from two very informed Kenyans. Bogosi budget. Bogosi budget. Kiingereza wajaluo tasoma siku ingine. I mean a bragging budget, okay? Or an overambitious budget that was nothing in there for the hustlers. Gigi says the budget was just fulfilling the stomach of the big fish. I don't know how Uhuru sleeps after even taxing LPG gas, bread in fund of formula, and the most basic commodities that Kenyans use every day. Maybe he doesn't sleep. David Ngatich, my president is right. Take away all the allowances from the MPs and slash their salaries and add the same to employ more teachers, nurses, and police officers. Kevin Mwenda, Dr. EKURU, will you sue the president for mismanagement of the economy? Kazi kwako, daktari. Stephen Mayo, kazi ni kazi. Congrats, asante sana. Isi York, I think to revive the economy, the government need to move the capital city from Nairobi to somewhere like Isiolo. Isiolo is the center of Kenya. The left-side corridor passes through Isiolo. Makes sense. David Ngatich, Kenya is controlled by
many countries, but they have done that as part of the restructuring. Many countries.
They have devolved administration. Okay, Isi York says Isiolo can help in over-reliance on Nairobi. Egypt is building a new capital. Tanzania has done the same. Okay. David Ngatich, Dr. EKURU, what is your plan to deal with monopolies and antitrust laws? With Brookside controlling the milk, Shell on petrol, KPLC on electricity. Kuna nyingine imekuja juzi ambaye ndio ina control zaidi. Anyway, Anthony Kiruri says kazi ni kazi. David Ngatich, I think Professor is wrong when it comes to government and the social contract theory. When a tax-paying citizen goes to private facilities, why should I pay taxes? Njunjagi says, please ask your panel again. Do you still think we'll have an election next year? The bells are ringing loudly over postponement. Okay. 247 NRT importing eggs from Egypt. Swala. Paul Njaya says, General, please ask Dr. EKURU, what are you doing as Third Way Alliance to provide a real third force in Kenyan politics rather than being a Twitter and online platform? Frederick Juma says, Professor should not take us to Egypt by fronting Ruta. He will take us to hell. I agree with EKURU. King of Samunda, if DB was thrown out then, he should have resigned. He hasn't, so he is part and parcel of the problem. 247 NRT on budget. How do we dig ourselves out of the 11 trillion debt? Doc, you are at risk of being a serial presidential candidate. Rebrand and diaspora might support you. Love punguza mzigo, by the way. Okay, Grace Kamau Sama DP all the way. Paul Njaya says, the Prof. KISIANGANI is the example of the problem of Kenyan academia. Good at regurgitating ideas without offering concrete solutions. Okay. Hiyo ni maoni. Grace Kamau, bottom-up approach is the only way to go. Junjagi, my problem is the intellectuals are taking sides. Professor KISIANGANI is fronting for Ruta. Professor Manyora fronting for Uhuru Raila. King of Zamunda. Yes, EKURU, I'm with you on that. Toro's government was working. Hizi cartoons zingine ni machozi na uchungu mtupu. Demis Mother says budget of debt. Wanjiku is pressed 100%. Hii ni Kenya. Johnny Boni, bottom of economy is the key. Naona pia Benjamin Lizzy following the discussions here do daktari na professor. Asante sana. Naona pia Paul Ngarage, we all this burden and yet even BBI has not been passed. Kenya atari kwa sasa. Denon Joga, you are very right, EKURU, that President Uhuru Kenyatta, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, DP William Ruto, Musalia Mudavadi and Kalonzo Musyoka are not the solution to Kenya's problems. And John Jagi, Professor Kisiangani, wacha wewe, you are playing with the intelligence. Kevida Ventures, I agree with Professor Kisiangani. Ruto was sidelined, but he will form government next year, God willing. Haya, Johnston Munyala says, please be talk, don't bring people like Kisiangani on your show. He's a professor, but he can't discuss issues of the country in a broader mind. He limited to one person. I mean, you have heard that, not unless you just joined in and you picked one thing and you ran with it. So it's only fair that you go through the conversation again and listen. So as we comment, as we also give our opinions, let's not sound like we're having some vendetta on people. Graham 30 says, next discussion, Asante. Jax Joram Kanja, Shabiki Mpia, thanks so much. I love the show. Thank you so much, Joram Kanja. Karibu sana kwenye tackle, and please don't move on, don't enda pale finya kengele kwa subscribe. Every time we are live you'll be able to get our notification. Please kimbia pale kwa YouTube, subscribe, enda pale Facebook pia have the general Bitok, then you can always join these conversations every time. Fine Lens says, good morning Bitok. Good morning to you, it's good to see you. Fine Lens. Korir Matthew from Bungoma tuned in for this amazing conversation. I like all this. Thank you. Joseph Karanja, we can change our Kenya with such programs. Keep up the good work. Asante sana Joseph Karanja. Daniel Birgen, the correlation between the huge budget in education year on year and useless elected leaders just show the quality, the quality in question. Okay. Yeah. You guys now have an opportunity to either agree or disagree.
No, actually no. As we don't, I mean, we have divergent opinions, and I think there's nothing violent. Prof is a very good friend of mine, and I like intellectual discourse, but also one that is centered on finding solutions for our country. So we have no fight with Prof, and we are not going to lie to Kenyans that we were fighting before BBI, because that is one of the lies that they said about BBI, that Kenyans were fighting. As to the best of my recollection, I don't remember any tribe fighting against each other tribe in 2017. No. In fact, the person who was pushing for that false narrative did not even participate in the election. So if he did not participate in the election, then how was anybody fighting? Yeah. So no, as we don't have that kind of, we just have a different
disagreement of ideology. Okay.
Well, not really. I don't even think it's such a wide disagreement.
I have immense respect for him. So even if we disagree, we do it with a lot of decorum. So I can't question his integrity.
Someone already was delivering a fire extinguisher. Arudisha ama bado ikuja?
No, not between me and I don't think there is any need for fire extinguisher.
So I'm sure you were saying it
so arudisha tu. Kama alikuwa mwana biashara, so nimeona mtu amesema hapa nimeleta extinguisher. Ikawa jamaa anauzanga. Unajua uchumi ni mbaya. So you see an opportunity where you can sell your product. So pole sana, tafadhali rudisha. Na hata sina kakitu leo.
Mhakikishe baada ya basi tunaenda kukula supu.
Atume extinguisher tuuze tukunywe supu. Yeah, thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. It's been a pleasure having you, and the tacklers who have been as well. It's great to see you, and I hope there's someone here.
Yes.
Okay, that is L.A. Low. Okay, I want to read two last comments on YouTube. Robinson Rudembo says, Kenyans need to wake up to reality. We are on our own. Let us not put our hopes on any of our current politicians. We have been told all these lies before. I agree with EKURU. L.A. Law, and some of the landed jurist doctor is forgetting the old adage. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. DP in the current affairs is your friend. You should be his friend.
You have a common enemy.
Actually, you should start talking to DP because you disagree with what is happening. So
an enemy of your enemy is your friend.
Since it looks like
you could be even his running mate.
Prof, I can see, we are all from Rift Valley, and knowing the politics of this country, the Kenyans may not buy that. Yes. They will say, North Rift. Actually, you're all from North Rift.
You're all pastoralists.
Like me, I think maybe we should send a message now that I think I suspect you have access to the DP. If he actually feels that he's been relegated in this government, let me tell you, he could actually do a quick thing and maybe just leave this government, and many people will support him, probably even including myself. You never know.
Okay.
Ya Mungu ni mengi.
No,
you know,
DP, the only reason why DP has not really quit this government is because he knows it is not the president who made him DP. It is the people. So so that is the reason. And so he's doing it because of respect he has for the people.
But the problem,
but when you tell him to walk out,
the problem, Prof, is this. Like you and I now, the way we are having a conversation here, and somebody just asked us, we need to look at the meaning of what integrity is, and you look at it in the context of Chapter 6, or even national values and principles of governance. You see, do you want to be associated with the rot that is this Jubilee government? Because for me, I would think that a man or a woman of integrity will say, okay, I totally disagree with this. And it's not he will not be the first one to say, I think this government has not delivered. We promised people this. Even the fact that, by the way, he's been relegated and a deputy president being brought against the will of the people. Why don't I want to hide behind the people who actually gave me the deputy presidency and tell them, you've all seen what is happening? For example, I was so disappointed with the protocol in Kisumu.
Yeah.
You know, that was a state function. Yeah. We were actually celebrating our internal rule, you know, 1st of June. And you saw, in terms of state function and protocol, it is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya who should have welcomed the president to speak. Not some fellow who is not even elected, not in government. We don't know who he is. Actually, a stranger in government. Why would a stranger in government elbow a deputy president? You know, the presidency in this country is the president and his deputy.
You see, it is not the deputy president who is violating the rules.
I know.
So
I know, but
so therefore, that is the reason why he's there. And you know, if he resigns today, he's trying to prove those who are tormenting him right. No, so in terms of you, because you have kept quoting Chapter 6, Article 73, there is a section which says that you hold this office in public trust.
Yes.
You know that's Article 73.
Yes.
I suspect that the people of Kenya still trust Ruto to be the deputy president, and they are about to elevate him to a president. So he has when he resigns, who does he please, or who does he disappoint?
But you know,
so it's a question of style. I don't know. I'm not speaking for him. I'm interpreting what I think he could be thinking. But if he has that option to resign, maybe his style is not to resign. I think it is him to answer those questions. But for in terms of his legitimacy, he is not holding that office in the trust of the president. He's holding it in the trust of the republic. And therefore, you cannot pressure him to quit and then ask the president to remain.
Prof,
Yes.
Prof, in what we call purposive interpretation of the Constitution,
yes,
you have to look at it holistically. For example, when you run for president as an individual,
yes,
one of the other requirements of you as a presidential candidate is to pick a running mate.
Yes.
Yeah? Yes. And your running mate becomes part and parcel of that presidency.
Yes.
Okay? Yes. And one of the paradoxes I see in the deputy president's tenure is that while it clearly seems that he's opposed to, for example, BBI or actions of the president, who by the way is his boss.
Yes, that's true.
That is his boss, and even himself has said it many times. That is my boss. The where he fails the integrity test is that his own boss is looking down upon him and bringing a stranger called Bitok to try and deputize him, when the Constitution actually says, I will not last there a single day.
That is,
and you see, and let me tell you, and you can still go back to the people of Kenya, pursuant to Article 1, and say, all sovereign power and authority vests in the people of Kenya. You gave me this, but the same Constitution requires of me to pursue certain aspects of integrity, which is based in chapter 6. I'm coming back to you to tell you this is what has happened. This is not failing the people of Kenya. It's actually truly living to the spirit and letter of the Constitution, which unfortunately they are not. But listen, I can understand why Ruto will not resign from government, even despite all these things, because he needs the position.
Okay.
He needs the position to be able to endear himself.
To maneuver himself, right?
To maneuver himself.
Na wewe Kenya unafinywa. Hata mtu wa opposition ako ndani ya serikali.
Hata wewe unajua historia hii nchi. Toka kwa serikali.
Tafinywa.
Unakarangwa kukarangwa.
Tafinywa mahali mbaya.
So
okay.
Are you his spokesman?
No. You have become Ruto's bro, I'm just telling you, you know.
But what you're saying is probably correct, but it's him to confirm. But let's be honest before we leave this show.
Tuenda nyumbani bwana.
No, kabla
supu inapoa.
We need another session.
Before we go, Gerard,
next Friday.
Gerard, I want to ask my brother EKURU.
Yeah.
You know, if you go to your bedroom and lock yourself in the bedroom and cover yourself in a blanket, there is nobody in the bedroom. And then you think, who will be the president of Kenya after August? I'm sure you are likely, without intention, to say the president will be Ruto.
Haya. Asante nabii, utakuja wakati wakati ufanye unabii wako pia. Okay, you guys need you need another rematch. The next week, so that we can try and farm.
Yeah, on something else. Yeah, we are so patriotic. One of the things you should know. This legal mind. Our country, this country, before we talk, we go. This country needs change. This country needs to wake up from its madness. A person like EKURU is a distinguished legal mind.
Thanks, Prof.
Nobody wants to seek his advice. He doesn't even have to serve in government.
That's just what he has to say.
But there are certain things, when you see things like this was going wrong with BBI, I'm sure EKURU was never called. He was a member of the committee of experts. If you called EKURU to join the BBI team, one of the things he would have told you is, let us do an audit of what we did in 2010, see how much has been implemented, whether the acts of parliament, which is subsidiary legislation that have been passed, are constitutional or unconstitutional, and what is the level of implementation in terms of percentages. If he had done that, then we can say, so what else do we change? He has method, but look, they picked some fellows who didn't care. They went to verify a document from people they never interviewed, and then they say this is BBI. So the lack of respect for people who are knowledgeable to change our country is shocking.
But Prof, don't you think? I mean, sorry.
Tuende nyumbani.
Prof, this is part of our problem in this country because it's a problem of leadership. Because one thing that I know, reading even from, I don't know, I'm sure you've read The Political Genius of Abraham Lincoln.
Yes.
Team of Rivals.
Yes.
And in Team of Rivals,
yes,
he decides to put America first.
Yes.
And he says, say, okay, I had my competitors, but I saw they had good ideas. He brought them into government for purposes of delivering a united America. Now, come back to Kenya. The problem we have in leadership in Kenya and maybe Africa at large, is that we are very poor leaders who are not wise. But instead of, wisdom can also dictate that if I know my certain weaknesses, I want to bring the best on the table.
Yes.
And I will tell them, Prof, this is my vision. I don't have monopoly of knowledge. I want you to help me achieve this vision. Okay. But you see, in Kenya, we would like to bring sycophants. Even right now, if you see social media, the people who fight the most, it is us guys who are knowledgeable, guys who are able to use Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and you wonder why. And this is what has made me many times conclude, I think even the uneducated villagers in our village are more wiser than us guys who have gone to universities, come with degrees. Because we ought to be giving this country direction, certain advice so that people can even change their mindset. But if you look at the guys who fight the most, who abuse and others the most, is actually educated.
The delinquents.
All right. And actually makes me wonder.
Okay, we've been jinxed. Whoever jinxed us committed suicide. Tungomba musama.
We need some.
Ningori.
We need to be
psychoanalyzed. Ningori.
Nikunoma.
Nikunoma. Sema nikumbiala. Until Monday, see you guys. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is The Tackle and The Tackle Else Now. It's been a pleasure. We love you. And we are signing out. Bye-bye.